Hello, hello, Dr. Brett Spradlin. We are at Divine Design Natural Health, Cleveland, Tennessee, April 20th, 2026. Is there anybody in this room that wants to learn anything?
Yes!
Then great. Let's get right to it, because this is going to be a long one. I apologize ahead of time. Let's do this. Public service announcement. Well, and first, before, I just thought of this the other day. The last class that we did, the Lies Doctors Tell Part 9, I'd highly encourage everybody to go check that out. And I left out one important thing there. Y'all remember the Michigan oncologist that killed like 550 people?
Yes. Right.
And I forgot to say the best thing about that, because he was a serial killer, the most prolific serial killer. If you haven't seen that, go back and check it out from last month, February 20-something, or March, whatever it was. And the Michigan serial killer, known as an oncologist that killed 550 people, it was very interesting that we compared him to the most prolific serial killer in American history, and this guy had killed twice as many people as the most prolific serial killer. What I forgot to say is that unlike, the most run-of-the-mill, carbon copy serial killers don't make a whole lot of money when they do what they do. But what the allopathic medical serial killers do that's very, very different is they get you to pay for everything. It's great. See, now, if you're a regular serial killer, you have to put in the time, the effort, the resources. You have to stalk your prey. You have to sneak up on them, usually stab them. You drag them behind a dumpster. You cut them up in little pieces. Then you got to do all the cleanup. If you're a medical serial killer, what you can do is get people to pay you to murder them slowly over time. So I forgot to leave that out. I just want to make sure you all understood that. So here's a real public service announcement. 500 to 900 million people were damaged, disabled, injured, or killed since the COVID's lethal injection was released. 500 to 900 million. That's a lot of people, you say. I know. That's 10 times the number of casualties from all of World War II in just 5 years, with absolutely no bombs, no guns, no planes, no tanks. That is from Pearl Harbor to Nagasaki. That is 10 times the number of people that were killed in World War II worldwide, and it happened in 5 years. No one knows it's happening because it's not on television. I just thought I'd spit that out. So here's why we're going into the genetics thing. I was recently shocked by our social media comments at how many people think they have a rare genetic disorder. About 2 months ago, we had some stuff go crazy online. And so the medical system has screwed people up so badly, and the specialists have butchered them so badly, that people from multiple countries are asking a stranger on the internet, can you help me? So with that, we saw thousands of comments, tens of thousands. We've had millions of views now. So people, strangers on the internet, are wishing that they were in your seats. It's crazy. So Cleveland doesn't even know we're here. That's fine. However, the world does. And so what we saw was tens of thousands of comments coming in, and I could not help but comprehend that there were so many I have a genetic disorder comments coming in. And I thought, where is this coming from? Could this be like 6 years ago when I had a mid-50-year-old woman standing in my face, and I look at her paper and I say, it says here your kids have autism? What is this? I'm looking at her paper. She says, no, I have autism. You drove here, you have a job, you have 2 kids. Who told you have autism? An online quiz. So the next class, it was going to be entitled, You Don't Have Autism. I never thought I'd have to do it. But that was 6 years ago. Now, the proliferation of all these online autism quizzes has gone so crazy that now you can't meet someone who doesn't think that they have autism. Or it's not called autism anymore, it's called neurodivergence or whatever. So I just saw thousands of these comments coming in saying things like, I am, or he is, or she is the only person known in the entire world with this particular genetic disorder. They're doing a white paper on him, they're studying him. When he's dead and gone, they're going to cut him up in slabs, and we're going to put him in the medical textbooks. It's unbelievable. So not only does half the population think that they should be wearing diapers and helmets, the other half of the population thinks that they have genetic diseases. So that's why we're doing this. It's unbelievable. And you're going to be shocked. I was shocked. I was stunned, disheartened, because this is what medicine has done. Next. It's unbelievable. This is everything you're going to get out of here tonight. It's going to be worth the price of admission, I promise. We're going to go through the National Institute of Health list of genetic disorders. You're going to freak out. It's going to blow your mind. A very prevalent medical lie. I think you all might know what it is. Medicine says genes and germs. We'll review a little bit. We'll look at some obvious observations that cannot help but blow your mind once you see how this fits. We're going to do an internet search for genetic diseases. That's going to blow your mind. We're going to review some of the new age medical sorcery, and just for instance, how insulin began, because we're going to see how, if this isn't a genetic thing, then how could this possibly be taking place? What does a colon specialist eat? I know you're all dying to know. Maybe DNA isn't really genetic. We're going to get into the nitty gritty and tell you that maybe your textbooks aren't right. The Human Genome Project hoax, it's a hoax. Do animals have genetic diseases? I think you might know where this is going next. And if it's not genes, then really what is it? Well-known facts about birth defects, because that's the first thing people are always going to say. We're going to talk about the Dutch hunger winter during World War II. We're going to talk about actual cures. This is going to shock you. Are there cures for genetic diseases? We'll see. The first CRISPR gene therapy drug, which just came out a couple years ago. So now we are in the age of genetically modified humans. If you didn't already think that we did genetically modified humans 50 years ago when we did the sheep. We are officially doing it right now, but the genetic modification has been going on for decades. We're going to talk about Dr. Royal Lee. He's going to speak from the grave. We're going to welcome him in. It's going to be like Samuel coming up from the Witch of Endor. It's going to be great. You're going to see this. What do plants have to say about genetic diseases? Did you know that plants have something to say about genetic diseases? This is crazy. How to start your own pandemic if you're so interested. We're going to talk about the first gene-edited human, and at the very end, we're going to welcome up some human hybrids that you will be able to discern for yourself. Does this sound like fun? Excellent. Let's get moving. Now, this is fun. This is the National Institute of Health Genome Research Institute. What could possibly go wrong with this? Just zoom in on this. I want to show you. This is an overview. This is what your government is telling everyone. A genetic disorder is a disease caused in whole or in part by a change in the DNA sequence away from the normal sequence. Now, what's normal? I don't know. We don't know what a woman is. Who knows what normal is? Genetic disorders, and notice how it's in whole or in part. It's like the stuff we were talking about with the abdominal migraine last time. Could be kids, could be adults, could be in the morning, could be at night, could be during the day, could be later on. Genetic disorders can be caused, I want you to see this, by a mutation in one gene, mono, by mutations in multiple genes, multi, by a combination of gene mutations and environmental factors, or by damage to chromosomes, changes in the number of structure of entire chromosomes, the structures that carry genes. That basically said a whole lot of nothing, okay? Here's what I want you to see. And notice, a combination of gene mutations and environmental factors. So if it's a gene mutation, and then it's a combination of environmental factor. Is environmental factors, is that genetics? Weird. But most people are going to read this and go, oh no, I'm hosed. What am I going to do, right? Because they're not going to know. They're not going to have the discernment that you've had from sitting here for years and understanding how is a genetic thing environmental. But you're going to see this throughout. I'll show. As we unlock the secrets of the human genome, the complete set of human genes, we are learning that, what does it say? Read it with me. Nearly all diseases have a genetic component. Look at that. We are learning that every disease has genetics in it. Is that a lie? It's a straight up lie. Some diseases are caused by mutations inherited from the parents and are present in an individual at birth, like sickle cell. First one you learn about. First one you learn about in your medical textbooks, sickle cell disease. They used to call it sickle cell anemia to make it sound more serious. They call it sickle cell disease now. That's why they do that. Other diseases are caused by acquired mutations in a gene or group of genes that occurred during a person's life. What's the problem with that statement? This is National Institute of Health. It's your friends at the government. Remember? Acquired mutations. How does that work? Right? Such mutations are not inherited from a parent, but occur either randomly or due to some environmental exposure. What's the one they list? Smoking. Yeah. Isn't that great? Never mind the radiation, never mind the chemtrails, never mind the 15 drugs that you're on, never mind the shots. that you took from 2020 onwards. Never mind the anesthesia. Never mind the gene therapies. No, it's just a cigarette smoke. That's it. That's it. So these include many cancers as well as some forms of neurofibromatosis. Zoom out on that, and we'll just look at the list of genetic disorders. I want you to see right here all of the stuff that the government is telling you is genetic, such as ADD, ADHD. How's it possible? How's it possible? How about autism? Genetic. Never heard of it before, what? Yeah. The 90s? Yeah. Look at this. Is this nuts? How about breast cancer? Well, everybody knows breast cancer is genetic. We do the pink ribbons and everything in October. We serve everyone pink lemonade and, Captain Morgan's for all of the month of October. Everybody knows. All of the linebackers in the NFL wear pink shoes. It has to be genetic. How about this? Crohn's disease and colon cancer. How is it possible? Cystic fibrosis. I'm going to prove to you none of these are genetic. None of them. Down syndrome. Everyone would say, well, yeah, but if you got an extra chromosome or trisomy or something like that, how can you say Down syndrome is not genetic? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. This is crazy. Familial hypercholesterolemia. What does that mean? High cholesterol running in your family. That's what that means. That's what that means. All these others named after dead guys. Gaucher, all the other stuff. What about hemophilia? I know somebody who's a hemophiliac. What about Huntington? What about Arlo Guthrie and Woody Guthrie? Haven't you heard about that? Yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah, I know. Keep going. Myotonic dystrophy. Now, is that muscular dystrophy? Because whatever happened to Jerry Lewis and the telethons? Is myotonic dystrophy, is that muscular dystrophy? Because whatever happened to the telethons? We'll explain. Parkinson's. Now, Parkinson's is genetic? Darn it, Heidi, I've been wrong all these years telling people it was the Diet Coke. And all this other stuff, sickle cell disease. They have basically told everybody that all of these diseases are genetic. See what they do? Now, if something is genetic, you're hosed because you can't change it, right? Unbelievable. Oh, and keep going. This right here, prostate cancer. See that one? Prostate cancer is genetic. You got it from your mom. Unbelievable. Isn't that crazy? Thalassemia, we'll cover some of this. Turner syndrome, Klinefelter syndrome. So you've got some of the intersex, hermaphroditic things that they're calling genetic. But what if they're not genetic? Somebody's born with two sets of parts, right? What if they're not genetic? So let's get into the very medical, or a very big medical lie, very prevalent medical lie. We went backwards a little bit, Jonathan. So very prevalent medical lie. So the kidney disease, the autism, the breast cancer, the colon cancer, the Crohn's disease, all of those things that you just saw, remember, all those things, genetic. They're telling you genetic. Very prevalent lie, you might have heard this, your condition is hereditary, genetic. We covered some form of that in All the Lies Doctors Tell, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. 10, 11, and 12 are in the hopper. I'm working on those because I keep hearing all the medical lies, and we're going to expose them. So here's the thing. When they say your condition is hereditary, or sometimes they use the term genetic, it means the same thing, but it's not. We'll get to that later. If they convince you the cause is genetic, the doctor doesn't have to fix anything, and the patient doesn't have to change their behavior. Isn't that great? So what do you mean, doc? You're saying my high cholesterol and my stuff and my Parkinson's isn't from my behavior and from the things I ate and the way I poisoned myself on the golf course for 35 years? It has nothing to do with any of the poisons that I ingested while I was farming this land and spraying poison on my own food that I was going to sell to other people to eat for their children, right? It has nothing to do with my behavior. It has nothing to do with anything I did. It's all genetic. That's what we're saying. Hallelujah. Now all I got to do is get the church to pray for me, right? Isn't that great? Next. If there are so many diseases that were actually genetic, you wouldn't have made it this far, right? It's bad habits passed down through generations. If it was genetic, if all of those diseases that we just looked at were genetic, there would be no chance that you would be sitting here. Next. Your genetic disorders, and I put massive air quotes around this because it's fake. That's why I'm saying you don't have a genetic disorder. I know this is going to ruffle feathers. I know it's going to. But if you will listen and you will watch and you will see what you are being told, you will call it out for the lie that it is. It's not genetic. It's this right here. It's your behavior. That's what it is. Your genetic disorders, air quotes, often never appeared in your family before. All your allergies, all your autoimmune stuff, all your cancer. Show me an autistic kid wearing diapers and helmets that reproduced. How's autism genetic? Show me a 50-year-old autistic kid. Show me. They're not there. So here's the point. Out of everything we're going to say tonight for the next 4.5 hours, this is the point. I want you to get this. You might want to take a picture of this. If you believe what you're commonly told, you will never know if your quote-unquote genetic disease is actually the result of, and here's a list, a vaccine, a ROGAM shot, yeah, mom, all the mothers out there, numerous ultrasounds. You don't know. Ultrasounds, when do we start doing those? 80s? How many ultrasounds does a kid get before the kid's born? You won't know if your genetic disease is the result of a vitamin K shot. Happens all the time. You won't know if it's from an infusion or a transfusion or a transplant. You won't know if it's from a medical procedure. You won't know if it's from an absorbed or an ingested chemical poison. You will have no idea if it's from exposure to radiation or an introduction of foreign proteins from other living organisms, as is common in your hormone shots, your injectable peptides, or your IVs, or your anesthesias, or your trigger point injections, or your Botox, or the list goes on. If it comes from a needle, it's a snake bite. If it comes from a needle, it does not belong in your body. I don't care what anybody says. Your naturopaths out there that are shoving needles in you, it's not natural. It just goes against the grain, man. It's not natural. Going past your digestive tract and into your bloodstream, I'm showing you, and I've said this for 12 years, I'm trying to help people understand there's nothing natural about a snake bite. Or you won't know if your genetic disease is just a simple chronic malnutrition. Or you won't know if your genetic disease is a combination of a little bit of that, little bit of that, little bit of that, little bit of that. You will just be thinking that you have a rare genetic disorder that only 2 people in the world understand. And you will spend your weekends going to Vanderbilt. Huh?
To see those 2 people.
To see those 2 people. You will spend your weekends driving back and forth between the world's best oncologists and the world's best geneticists, because they're always the world's best. They're never the world's worst. They're never in the mid-range. They're always the top. Isn't that weird? So that's the point of this whole thing that we're going to go through. I'm going to prove to you beyond a shadow of doubt that all this right here makes more sense than a genetic disease, okay? But I can tell you the painful truth that you actually did this, or I can just sugar up a lie and stick it in your face that it's all genetic. Which do you prefer? What do you think most people prefer? They want it to be genetic. They're not responsible. They're not responsible. The doctor's not responsible. It's God's fault. That's what it's saying. That's what they're saying. Your atheist, pagan, blood-drinking doctors who are out there killing people, poisoning people for money. The oncology guy poisoning people. This guy was poisoning people for money. The oncology guy that killed 550 people. What do you think the other oncologists are doing? This one just got caught lying to people and telling them they had cancer when they didn't. So if this one was selling people poison for money, what are all the other oncologists and medical doctors doing? Everybody knows it's poison, but somehow we're going to poison that person back into health with chemotherapy. Do you feel, do you sense, do you smell how crazy that is? I can tell you this, or I can tell you this. But here's the key. I'm never going to tell you this. It's going to be painful. I'm only going to tell you this. So let's move on. Which do you prefer? Most people want the second one. Next. Reminder, medicine says it's genes or germs, it's a bunch of dolphins. But here's the thing. You run this through your head. If a bunch of dolphins died mysteriously, would you think it's genetic? You're out in the ocean, you're on your boat, a bunch of dolphins are just floating. All of a sudden, they're a bunch of dead dolphins. Would you think it's genetic? A lot of people would. They'd run a bunch of genetic tests. They'd try to figure out what the hell happened to the dolphins. It must be genetic. Next. Would you test them all to see if they had a virus? What did we do 6 years ago? A lot of people would. They'd give them PCR tests, shove a little thing up their nose, and check to see if there was something there that never existed, right? Or would this make more sense? Would you look at the environment and perhaps see that a leaking oil tanker had poisoned the water, resulting in a sickness among the dolphins? That would make the most sense, wouldn't it? What does medicine do? It does this one, and it does this one. And it never looks at this one. See how illogical medicine is. It's unbelievable. And you still have people going to the white coat snake worshipers from 6 years ago that tried to kill him. They're still going back to the people that wanted him dead. This makes the most sense and is the actual truth, but don't ever expect that from your team of renowned specialists. Don't ever expect that. They're going to look for genetics, and they're going to look for genes, or germs. They're never going to look for the poisons. Because why? Because every drug they give you is a poison. Next. Remember that. Now, just to back up a little bit and see this from 50. No. That was me backing up, not you. So just to back up a little bit and say, okay, what are we really talking about with genetics? Because we're going to use some terminology here I want everybody to be familiar with. Here's a cell. Now, some of this stuff, let's just say this. This is what you've been taught in your biology textbooks. Here's your cell. Inside the cell is the nucleus, and the nucleus, inside the nucleus is the chromosomes. This is what a chromosome looks like, apparently, according to the people who draw cartoons. And then the genes, because you notice you never see real ones. They're always cartoons. Like most things in a science journal, they're cartoons. And the DNA, the chromosome, is made up of little chunks of genes that collectively is called the DNA, okay? So when we refer to some of these chromosomes, DNA, genes, I want you to know the gene is part of the chromosome fits in the nucleus, and the nucleus fits in the cell, okay? So just know that. We'll show you that picture later on just to review some terminology. Don't pay attention to histones. Don't pay attention to all these. Oh, and I forgot to mention, these little letters here, the TA, AT, TA, AT, these, you don't have to know the names, but those are called nucleotides, nucleic acids, okay? So don't get too tied up in all the terminology. That's just what I want you to know. Next. So the problem, remember, used to be organs. You had a bad heart, you had a bad liver, you had a bad kidney. Then it became the tissues. Well, it's this, it's that, it's the ligament, it's the tendon, it's the thyroid, it's the gland. Then it became the bacteria, so it got a lot smaller. Then it became the cells. So the bacteria is bigger than your blood cells, right? So then it became the cells. Then it became the mitochondria within the cytoplasm of the cells. Oh, and go back real quick, Jonathan, to that last picture. I forgot to point out. In your cell, if this is your nucleus, all the stuff around the nucleus out here is the cytoplasm, the watery gel-like substance in the cell. Okay, so go forward. So we're zooming out. It used to be the organs, then it became the tissues, then it became the bacteria, then it became the cells, then it became the mitochondria within the cytoplasm of the cells, right? Then it became the nucleus within the cells. We said everything's genetic. Now we got to look at the nucleus. Then it became the chromosomes within the nucleus. Then it became the genes on the chromosomes within the nucleus of the cells. Then it became the specific nucleotides within the genes on the chromosomes within the nucleus of the cell. We always get smaller and, well, it's not this, it must be this. Well, it's not this, it must be, we have to go down, drill down farther. And we just end up digging this big giant hole. And by the time we get to the end of the hole, we end up looking and we realize we're looking at nothing because it's too small. So what are they doing? They're just going chromosomes, genes, nucleotides, to the point now where we're editing, snipping out single nucleotides in the human genome and thinking nothing bad's going to happen. So there it is. There's a problem, right? Ignoring the elephant in the room, and we're just getting to looking down. We have to get better and better microscopes. It's just unbelievable. Next. So there's a problem.
Fewer and fewer people can even see.
Right. If we make it smaller and smaller, nobody's going to have the money to buy a microscope to look at it. We'll be the only ones that will be able to look at it. They keep moving the goalpost, looking for smaller and smaller problems since they're ignoring the elephant in the room, which is you're poisoned and you're malnourished. It's simple. It's always been simple. That's the simplicity of it. But the hardest thing is to get people to understand how simple it is. It's unbelievable. Next. As genetic screening tests increase in number, because how many of you know we're getting more and more of them, what's that going to do? They're going to become more sensitive. You're going to see more diseases. You're going to see more diagnosis, even if the patient has no symptoms. It's unbelievable. How many people on a routine checkup, they go into the hospital, all of a sudden they've got a horrible disease. They didn't even have any symptoms. How's it possible? Next. This is complete overdiagnosis. And as more people are tested and diagnosed, disease rates, what happens? Disease rates go up. Survival rates from the disease goes up. And they can be artificially inflated to advertise greater efficacy. Isn't that crazy? So now we have more diseases, but we were able to detect it faster. And now we're able to get them on treatment faster. And now we can say the survival rate is through the roof because we inflated the numbers and we cooked the books. Next. So genetics is always going to lead to more research foundations, more support groups for the people with the diseases, because nobody can change their behavior. It's all genetics. So we have to have a support group. Then there's going to be more government funding, more drugs, more injections, more procedures, more GLP-1s, more genetically altered humans, as you will soon see. We're already dealing with genetically altered humans. Next. Sickle cell disease, it's weird, because if you're white, they call it thalassemia. If you're black, they call it sickle cell disease. Crazy. But it's the first disease you ever learn about in any genetics course, sickle cell. And it used to be called sickle cell anemia, but they wanted to make it scarier, as I said before. Next. Oncologists never find tumor cells in the blood. Remember, this is an obviously obvious observation. They never find tumor cells in the blood. So how did it go? If it metastasized, you had breast cancer, but now you got bone cancer, or you had bone cancer, now you got brain cancer. How did it go from the bone to the brain if it didn't travel in the blood? Never mind. Not important. It doesn't have to make sense. Remember that. Next. It doesn't have to make sense. They just say it and it materializes. It doesn't have to make sense. 60 years after the war on cancer, outcome improvement is 2% because their cellular theory is flawed and their therapies rely solely upon genetic diagnoses, and then they're still going to kill you. They're still going to kill your cells. So if you're going to a white-coated atheist that has a snake on his name tag and you think you're going to get any better, you're nuts. And with bioinformatics, we'll look into this later. They say they map the entire human genome. They say they map the entire human genome. They say that. They lied. But they're saying certain genes cause certain diseases, and then they're prescribing highly toxic and poisonous drugs, just like the oncologists are doing. The geneticists are doing the same thing because they realize that it's a cash cow. Check this out. Breast cancer, very rare in Japan. But when the Japanese women move here to America, their breast cancer rates match those of Americans. So breast cancer, is it genetic? But the BRCA gene, everybody knows about the BRCA gene, and that Angelina Jolie lopped both of her boobs off for a preventive mastectomy because it ran in her family, right? All the big stars are doing preventative mastectomies, double mastectomies, because it runs in their family. So we're just going to get ahead of it. Next. See how demonic this is? See how absolutely sick this is? What happens when they discover that the prostate cancer with guys? Hey, we need to, yeah, right? So they're gonna say, well, we need to take out your prostate cancer to be preventative. We need to take out your prostate. Mm-hmm. It's gonna happen. Next. Oh, wait. I missed so genetic diseases based on all the observations we just talked about, including this one should make it obvious as to why all the linebackers are wearing pink shoes, right? So genetic diseases are actually acquired and they're caused, but by what? You saw from the National Institute of Health, it said it's genetic and it's environmental factors, but they never talk about the environmental factors, except for, of course, they covered smoking. It's the cigarette smoke. Crazy. So, note, we're going to show you many screenshots of actual internet searches to illustrate what people will likely find when doing the same. Why? Because I know people are going to do this. They're going to find out that they got something stage 4, grade 5, level 16 thing, and they're going to go home and they're going to Google it, and I'm going to show you what's going to come up, and it's shocking. As AI takes over, your access to true information is going to greatly diminish. Understand this. You better know somebody who knows something because the AI is coming, and it ain't slowing down. You better know a doctor who knows how to fix you. God help you if you don't, because this is what's taking over, okay? As AI takes over, your access to true info is going to greatly diminish. So in essence, AI will be a vast encyclopedia riddled with disinformation extending indefinitely out into the future. Nearly the entire knowledge base of humans is soon going to be tainted and corrupted forever, never to return. What are they going to feed the AI with? All the medical textbooks, full of what? Fake diseases. What are they going to put in the AI? All the medical research papers that say that you have genetic diseases. That's it. That's what they're going to feed into the AI because that's what they think. That's what they believe. Who's going to control it? The Sam Altmans, the Karps, what's his name? Elon Musk, all these people who are like next in line. Like, here's the Antichrist job description. All these guys are right under him. Every one of them. It's unbelievable. Here's a point too. Understand this, because biblically, you would be hard-pressed to think of 10 diseases from a book that spans 4,000 years of human history. Let's name them. Why don't we name them? Leprosy, boils, blindness, deafness, mute, issue of blood. We already mentioned boils and leprosy. There's
Born blind.
There's 6. Blind. We said blind. I'll just say it again. Here we go. Blind, deaf, mute. Let's talk about all the neurological stuff first. Blind, deaf, mute.
Lame.
Let's say epilepsy. Let's say it's not what they say it is. Let's say, but the Bible actually says epilepsy. Lame.
Paralyzed?
Let's go ahead. Let's throw paralyzed. Let's say somebody had a club foot or a club hand, the dude with the deformed hand in the synagogue.
Yeah.
Let's say leprosy and boils. Okay, there's the skin stuff. What else we got?
I think that's basically it.
Hair loss.
Hair loss. What Bible are you reading?
Bald.
That's the Presbyterian version.
I don't know what Herod died of something that in his stomach.
Oh, Herod, he split open. Yeah, didn't it say he split open? Yeah. So let's just be very generous and let's just say we got 10 diseases in a book that chronicles 4,000 years of human history. So the question to you would be, where did all the other 100,000 diseases come from? Here's your answer. They are man-made. Your arthritis, your thalassemia, your Tay-Sachs disease, your Keyshawn's disease, all of the other stuff, right? Unless I left out a bunch of diseases, but we've got a bunch of Bible scholars in this room, and we just put all our collective heads together, and we came up, we had to stress and stretch to think of 10 diseases. So what about fibromyalgia? What about irritable bowel? What about Crohn's disease? What about cancer? All the 50 million different types of cancer. What about skin problems? What about diabetes? What about type 1? What about type 2? What about type 3? What about Alzheimer's? What about all that stuff? Man-made. Proved it to you right there, unless you just don't believe the Bible. Unless I'm leaving out entire books. Wait, we didn't read the Apocrypha. We might have to throw in the Apocrypha. Does this make sense? I'm not saying anything other than look at logic, look at physiology, and look at biblically. That's it. It's crazy. Unbelievable. So, AI, point of this, AI is never going to tell you this right here. Because AI is going to have its own Bible. It's going to have its own, and they're going to tell you, well, we update our Bible all the time. Why don't you update your Bible? That's going to be the selling point. So just understand this. You better learn this stuff. I don't know where else you're going to hear it. Commercial break. Heidi, come on up.
So this patient, she said, before coming to Divine Design, I spent lots of money on skincare products. Still, my skin did not look healthy, but looked dull. Now I am not spending any money on products that I don't need and my skin looks healthy. I get random compliments about it and am asked what I use. Thank you, Divine Design, for teaching me about detox and supplements. I now know that health starts from the inside and shines out.
I was going to say we use this topical collagen cream from Oil of Olay for her. That was totally kidding. Totally kidding. Yeah, it comes from the inside out. It's crazy. If ads told the truth, we have a pill for everything and a cure for nothing. Isn't it true? How many cures have you seen? I put this in here for a reason, because I want you to understand how many people have you ever seen cured by medicine? Cured. I'm not talking car accident, stitches, broken leg. I'm talking a cure for a metabolic, chronic, long-term condition, disease. How many times were people cured?
They're getting close.
Yeah. We're just 2 weeks away from them having nuclear weapons. They're 2 weeks away. And here's how we're going to get closer. We're going to take a molecule in python blood, because it could pave a way for new obesity drugs. Researchers find snake metabolite that suppresses appetite of obese mice without some side effects of GLP-1 drugs. What could go wrong? We take reptiles and we genetically splice and dice some metabolites out of these cursed creatures that are on the name tags of all of the pedophile blood drinkers that you go to get medical care. Because the hospitals are owned by the same dudes that were on the island. You do understand that, right? Next. Oh, speaking of that, I didn't even know this was the next thing. I tell you, sometimes the prophecies just fall out of the sky. If you thought the Epstein files were mind-blowing, just wait until you discover the truth about JFK, flat Earth, moon landing, Area 51, Bigfoot, Denver Airport. Oh yeah, Men in Black, Mandela Effect, Deep Underground Bases, CERN, Illuminati, Project Bluebeam, Reptilians. There they are right there. That's them. I've seen them. Adrenochrome, Saturn Time Cube, MK Ultra, elite human trafficking, satanic ritual abuse, Nazis in Antarctica, and Black Knight satellite. That's a whole separate class. We'll get to that later. Yep, crazy. Next. If they're lying to your face about things happening right now in real time with cameras everywhere and the internet at your fingertips, imagine how bad the history books are.
Yes.
And imagine how bad the medical textbooks are.
Yes.
Imagine how uneducated your nurses and your doctors and your medical staff are about the way that your body works because they've never understood it in any way other than what was published by the pharmaceutical companies in their textbooks. My nutrition books in a doctorate chiropractic program were published by Pfizer. So where do you learn this? Not in chiropractic school. Next. Trying to remember the branches of government. I know it's corporations and pedos, but what's the third one? Yeah, thanks, Ian. Now, this you have to understand. When I said you better know a real doctor and you better understand what's going on in this world, here's why. I'll read it. You guys don't have to, I know it's small, but yeah, you might want to take a picture of this. This is extremely, oh, there we go. Matthew Gallagher, he created 800 plus Facebook accounts, posing as a fake doctor to advertise on Facebook, and went on to build a GLP-1 telehealth company with just 20 grand, AI, and his brother as a full-time employee. It generated 401 million in 2025. Wow. 20 grand startup capital. Within a year, $401 million, made 800 Facebook accounts of fake doctors shipping GLPs to thousands, millions of people. And GLP, Ozempic, Wegovy, the biggest drug history in the world, GLP-1s. They're bigger than lisinopril. GLP-1s, they're everywhere. Your grandkids, your kids are on this stuff. And it could reach 2 billion in 2026. Got a warning letter in February for misbranding violations. Its clinician network, Open Loop, suffered a data breach in January 26 that exposed 1.6 million patient records. How much GLP-1? How is he getting it? How is he buying it? Don't you have to have a DEA number to buy drugs? How is he doing this? How is he doing this? Futurism reported that they used AI-generated deepfake before and after photos in their marketing. Class action lawsuit filed in Delaware. They're also running 800 plus fake doctor accounts on Facebook to sell compounded GLP-1s. Scroll up so you can see this is what it looks like. Zoom in and scroll up so people can see yeah. So you're on Facebook looking for a doctor. Oh, look, he sells GLP-1s. Oh, look, this guy looks real.
They always told me not to buy drugs on social media because it's always, the government.
Yeah.
I guess you can buy GLP-1s now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can buy it. You don't even need a prescription. Just I've had people come in and say, here's our new insurance plan from work. Here's all the drugs we can select from. What do you mean select from? You don't need a prescription? No, we can pick any of them. They'll give us any of them. It's like $10 a month. That's what they're doing with people. That's what Amazon Pharmacy is. So that's what your friends and family members are seeing when they go to Facebook and they see, oh yeah, Dr. Sarah Martin, she's got, great 5-star reviews. These guys, from 20K to almost 2 billion. Do the math on that. Millions of people. Millions of people. And did it all with AI. None of these people are real. None of them. And even if you did find somebody that you could go to, can they adjust you in an emergency? Can they show you how to detox quickly and get poison out of your body so you don't have a meltdown and end up in an ER? Do they know how laser and pulse and PEMF and foot spas and saunas and everything work? Do they know how to use plants and animals and herbals and homeopathics to nurse you back to health? These guys? No. They have a prescription pad, even if they did exist, and they have a scalpel. That's it. What else are they going to do? Are they going to write you a prescription for an herb? Nope. Can't. It's illegal. Next. I predicted it years ago. I said when this whole tranny zombie apocalypse thing was happening, I said, I wonder when some dude is going to get busted for not getting treated at an OBGYN center. I said it, I called it years ago. I could go back and tell you what class it was. Gynecologist refuses to see trans woman, which is really a dude, as a patient, sparking a medical ethics debate. No, it's not a medical ethics debate, it's a moral debate. Yeah, that's right. Medical ethics, if you don't know the difference between a dude and a non-dude, you're going to have problems. You're going to have problems. You're going to get sued by one of these trans wackos, and they're going to take your license, and you're done. And they're going to change the medical textbooks, and they're already changing the anatomy books. Watch. Next. I predicted it. The government says the earth is overpopulated. I say the government is overpopulated. Amen. Can I get an amen on that? Next. If I don't text back, this is what I'm doing. That was me a few weeks ago when I hurt my shoulder. That's just a live action picture of what actually happened. Okay, so zoom in on this one, Jonathan. So this is what happens when somebody just says, I have a genetic disease, here's a genetic disease. What's the definition of a genetic disease? If you just look at what genetic diseases are, health conditions caused by changes in a person's genes or chromosomes. These changes can disrupt normal protein function, leading to a wide range of disorders. Now, we won't get into all the different types. There's single gene, there's two gene, there's chromosomal, blah, blah, blah. Scroll down a little bit. I just want to get to the last paragraph. Inheritance patterns, here it is again, causes and detection. Mutations can be inherited or acquired during life due to environmental factors like, what does it say? Radiation or chemicals. If you're going to treat cancer, which they say is a genetic problem, what are the two ways that you're allowed to treat cancer in the United States? Radiation and chemical therapy, or what we call chemotherapy. That's why it's called chemotherapy. It's chemical therapy. But if you tell someone, we're going to give you a buttload of chemicals, weirds them out. So you just call it chemotherapy or chemo. Or your pastor will say, pray for sister so-and-so and brother so-and-so. They're going in for chemo treatments this week. Yeah. Pray that the Lord be with them.
Right, we're just going to send it to that one little cell.
Yeah.
And bypass all the health.
Yeah, we're going to use the gamma knife, and we're going to use chemotherapy. You do traditional cancer therapy. We do chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery all at once instead of separate. That's what they mean. When you see the billboards, they do it all at once. Chemo, radiation, and surgery all at once. That's non-traditional. So understand, they're saying environmental factors like radiation or chemicals. So let me get this straight. So if I'm on lisinopril for 35 years, and I'm taking Zantac, and I'm smearing on all kinds of crap from Bed Bath & Body, or Bath & Body Works, whatever it is. I'm smearing blenders, Bed Bath. I get them confused. It's BBBB. It's all B's. They're the same thing to me. But if I'm slathering crap on, and I'm eating a bunch of poison, and I'm taking a bunch of poison, and I'm rolling up my sleeve and consenting to them giving me more poison, could I end up with a genetic disorder? They said it, right? They just said it. But people aren't going to read that. They're not going to see that. What if we gave them too many? They're going to glance right over that environmental factors because no one knows what that is. It's what's called a misunderstood word. You're going to look at it and you're just going to keep going because you don't know what environmental factor actually means. There, at least they said radiation and chemicals. So what if we did some math? Overprescription of drugs, Jonathan. In 2025, the estimated number of drug prescriptions, this is the best data I could find, for drug prescriptions written in the US, 6 billion. Is that a big number? That's a big number. We're going to do the math. I'm going to break it down for you. Next. The U.S. has a population of 342. So when you divide 6 billion by 342, that's an average of 18 prescriptions per person in the U.S. during 2025. That means for Olivia, that means for Matthew, that means for Thomas, that means for Stella, that means for Azariah, that means every one of them would have 18 drugs for the entire population of the United States. That's how many prescriptions we wrote last year. Is America's health great or crap?
Crap.
I wonder if there's a correlation. Annually, the number of unnecessary prescriptions for just antibiotics in the US is 34 million. Isn't that nuts? That is nuts. So when your friends and your family members and the dudes and sitting next to you at church and work are taking their drugs, think about this. This is unconscionable. But hey, the doctors have boats and private school to pay for. You know what I mean?
That's right.
Next. In its history, the FDA has approved about, I found differing numbers, 20,000 prescription drugs. So they've got a lot of things to choose from, right? Next. How many more drugs does the FDA need to approve in order to finally make America healthy? How many drugs do you think we need?
Zillions.
We need more. We got to have a lot more. Next. What about the 6 billion annual prescriptions? Do we need more than that? Or should we up it to 12 billion? Should we do more drugs or more prescriptions? Or more prescriptions of more drugs? See, it never ends. If all these drugs aren't enough, we could really face a really horrible health crisis. Isn't that crazy? And of course, AI comes in as the final solution. Yes, I meant that, final solution. The algorithms can keep the prescriptions running forever, get them shipped to your door by the end of the day with Amazon Pharmacy. So in review, quick review, stuff here, New Age themes in modern society. I wanted to build this in. This is from DDNH 187. If you haven't seen New Age for Old Devils, these are some themes in modern society, or I should say in modern medicine. Doctrines of demons, atheistic evolution, Nephilim technology, seed wars, all the stuff, various things, NASA space nonsense, SpaceX nonsense, CERN nonsense, blood plasma organ donation, what they call procurement now. It's not called organ donation anymore. Donation got the bad rap. Now we call it procurement, the seed wars, genetics. Next, go back and watch DDNH 187. It'll catch you up on all the Antichrist surveillance, all the pharmakia, the drugs, the injections. They changed some of the vaccines' names to biologics. So if you go into the hospital and you say, is that a vaccine? They'll say, no, it's a biologic. Oh, okay. Thank God, I thought you were going to inject the vaccine into me. No, it's only a biologic. Venoms, gene therapy, injectable peptides, monoclonal antibodies, mRNA. I love when people say, well, I didn't get the shot, I just got a monoclonal antibody. And how did they deliver the monoclonal antibody? Through a needle? Brother, you got duped. Eugenics, population reduction, carbon credits, climate change, abortion, alphabet community, transhumanism. You can go back, review all that on your own. I just wanted to show you, we've been talking about this for years. Next, sense of synthesis. I want you to understand this. Where does some of the stuff come from? Remember, we talked the point in bold at the beginning. I said, take a picture. This could be it. This could be why, for the last 100 years, people are like, oh, I wonder if it's genetic. Check this out. Sense of synthesis, and this is from, which one is this? This is from DDNH 199. We covered in the peptide, I think this was the peptide class. I'm not sure. No, a snake in the vein. This is a snake in the vein. So this is all the snake venom stuff, and this is all of the snake bite stuff. Since the synthesis of the first therapeutic peptide, insulin, in 1921, keep that date in mind, remarkable achievements have been made resulting in the approval of more than 80 peptide drugs worldwide. The development of peptide drugs has thus become one of the hottest topics in pharma research. Next. The first half of the 20th century witnessed the discovery of several life-saving bioactive peptides, such as insulin and ACT hormone, which were initially studied and isolated from natural sources, we covered this a long time ago, but I wanted to point out again. The discovery and development of insulin, a peptide with 51 amino acids, has been considered one of the most monumental scientific achievements in drug discovery. Bold stuff, pay attention. First isolated by this guy in 1921, further developed by this guy, and was already available for patients with diabetes mellitus just a year after its first isolation. We pointed this out before. How did they have a drug ready for insulin in humans within that short amount of time. What was happening at the same time? We'll get there. In 23, insulin became the first commercial peptide drug and has since benefited thousands of diabetes patients to date. However, the production of human insulin during the 20th century could not keep up with the high market demand. Why was the market demand so high for insulin? What was happening?
Processed sugar from the war food.
Processed sugar. When did processed, refined crap food start? Late 1800s, early 1900s. When did they need insulin? Right here. When was Royal Lee telling people? Right then. Was Royal Lee watching this happen, going, this is a train wreck, and I'm powerless to stop it, other than to treat people and train people in how we can put the stuff back in their body that God put in the dirt from the plants and animals, and we can put it into you in a capsule or a tablet. But still, you've got all the medical quacks going, oh, it's just expensive urine, right? However, the production of human insulin during the 20th century couldn't keep up, and animal-derived insulins, these, such as cow and pig, dominated the insulin market for almost 90 years until they were replaced by recombinant insulin. What is recombinant? So all your friends and family members, type 1, type 2, doesn't matter, they're pumping stuff that used to be cow and pig back in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. People were pumping cow and pig. Let me get this straight. Pumping stuff from cows and pigs into human veins 100 years ago. Could this have caused some problems? What do you think? I think it could cause some big problems, don't you? Were we cleaning it up and filtering it and making sure that there were no weird proteins and things? We didn't even know. We didn't even know. Remember, they didn't figure out DNA, if that's really what it was, until the 50s. We've only known about DNA for 70 years. So what is the recombinant insulin thing? Let's check this out. Recombinant DNA are DNA molecules formed by laboratory methods of genetic recombination, such as molecular cloning, that bring together genetic material from multiple sources, creating sequences that would not otherwise be found in the genome. Together, genetic material from multiple sources. What does that mean? So that means they've got bacteria, they've got fungus, they've got parasite, they've got monkey, they've got horse, they've got pig, they've got chicken, they've got sea creatures, all kinds of stuff that they're recombinantly growing and adding chimerically with human soup, harvesting it, putting it back in you. Could that cause a problem in your DNA?
Maybe. John seems to think so in Revelation.
John did. Sure did. Yeah. Yeah. So let's check out your genetic diseases one more time. This is why medical doctors want to know your family history on every form. Every time you go to a medical doctor's office, they're going to ask you, does your family have any of this, 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 or this? Does your mom have any of that? Your dad? Here's all the stuff that's genetic. Remember, even this is genetic now. Don't quite know how. Yeah, those all look legit. Wait a minute. Sudden infant death syndrome. How is sudden infant death syndrome genetic? How would it pass on? He got it. How would that be possible? How could sudden infant death syndrome be a genetic problem? It's not possible, is it? Because the infant didn't reproduce. Isn't that crazy? But they're going to tell you this, and they're going to make you think that you're autistic. They're going to tell you that, and they're going to say, well, your heart disease runs in your family. Same here. Whatever happened to Jerry Lewis? Well, and in animals, which we'll talk about here in just a minute, they used to call muscular dystrophy in animals is called white muscle disease because it turns your muscles white and you can't move them. So muscular dystrophy, that's why they had walkers and they had wheelchairs, right? But whatever happened to Jerry Lewis with the muscular dystrophy, the telethons? Well, somebody went to Jerry Lewis, showed him that it was a nutritional disease and then it could be fixed. Yep. Instantly, Jerry Lewis gets kicked out. Yep. They shut down the telethons. It's all done. Never saw it again, did you? It's a nutritional thing. So if but they were born with muscular dystrophy. Really? Were they? Because it went away. Where did it go? Those telethons, I remember growing up and watching them. They were everywhere. They'd been going on for decades before I saw them. And then that brings us to this one, which everybody, goes crazy about. You, your kid, whoever, goes face down in a parking lot, you freak out, take him to the hospital, they prick his finger, they run his stuff, all of a sudden they tell you type 1 diabetes. Guess what you're going to be pumping into your kid for the rest of your life? Never going to change. But could he have passed out or gone face down in the parking lot from something completely different? Could those lab results be showing them something completely different that they don't know what they're looking at? Could they be lying to you? The answer is yes, 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 and yes, all of it. So how do patients then, if it's genetic, why don't they find it until you're 35 years old if it's genetic? And then if the type 1 people, if we're able to reverse them and get them off their insulin, then we would automatically, instantly prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not genetic. So how do we do that? We do everything I just told you about. That's how easy it is. Come off insulin entirely. Maybe they were misdiagnosed. Maybe the doctors told you it was type 1, but really it was a type 2. And type 2 is adult onset, right? Well, can you fix type 2? If you can fix type 1, you can fix type 2. We'll get more into this here in a little bit. And this right here, well, they fixed that back in the 90s, long ago. That's not a genetic thing. That's a nutritional deficiency, just like all the others are. And we'll get into that. Next. Now, just in case people are wondering, this is a journal article, American Diabetes Association. This is what the genetics of diabetes, this is what the American Diabetes Association will tell you if you search, if you look at the research. If people aren't into the headlines, they're into the research journals. Here's one. Type 2 diabetes has a stronger link to family history and lineage than type 1. And studies of twins have shown that genetics play a very strong role in the development of type 2 diabetes. So this is complete hogwash. This is complete medical propaganda. Diabetes type 2, the pancreas makes less insulin than it used to, and your body becomes resistant to insulin. How about this? How about you just stop eating sugar? How about your body is being poisoned by sugar, and your pancreas can't keep up, and now you've got a problem? But see, they're never going to tell you that. These are all the greatest minds in medical research, and they all run the journals. I've got a whole class coming up in the future about fake research, about all the research that people read and the headlines that they read, how it's all fake. It's completely fake. Next. Illustration. Colon cancers have dramatically increased. Rather than looking for the cause, what are we going to do? We're going to lower the screening age in order to find the cancer sooner. That way, we can make the patient suffer earlier from the barbaric treatments. So why do people believe they have genetic diseases? Because they read articles in USA Today about GI doctors. They eat like this guy. Check this out. This is unbelievable. I put this in here. I know this is a GI doc. This is not a geneticist. But you just have to see this, because if they're saying this about GI doctors, imagine what they're saying about genetics. Imagine what they're saying about cardiologists, right? You ever notice all the cardiologists, what do all the cardiologists die of? Heart attacks. So what does that tell you about what they know about heart disease?
Nothing.
As colon cancer cases rise, here's what a gastroenterologist eats. You got to see this. You're not going to believe it. I will read this to you. What does a GI doc eat? One who specializes in the gut and digestive system. This is a short article. I just have to show this to you. This is nuts. What does he eat? With a colorectal cancer going crazy and the number of cases among people going up, USA Today, a stalwart, absolute juggernaut of journalism, asked an award-winning GI doctor, Dr. Arun Swaminath, to break things down. He's probably from Missouri. According to the ACS, American Cancer Society, Facts and Figures 2024 report, 55% of colorectal cancers might be able to be traced to a few potential risk factors, such as lack of exercise, smoking, and alcohol consumption. What do they leave out right there about gastrointestinal stuff?
Nutrition.
The food that goes through it. How stupid is this? Including eating lots of red products. They don't want you, don't eat that red meat. While too much red meat is associated with adverse health outcomes, now never mind that that's what it was eaten for 6,000 years, right? It now sits on top of a newly flipped food pyramid, which can make guidance confusing for Americans. Yeah, because it was inverted for almost 70 years. Swaminath is the chief at Lenox Hill Hospital, so he's the head of all the gastroenterology guys in New York, points out people aren't cooking at home as much. It's prepared and packaged. It's got preservatives, emulsifiers. There's excellent data on how these molecules affect the barrier between the gut and the immune system. So I'm on the edge of my hemorrhoids waiting to see what he's going to say. I can't wait. What does he say? First sentence. As a vegetarian, Swaminath already avoids meat. This is the head of gastroenterology at a New York hospital. But wait, there's more. So he already avoids meat, but he says his job still impacts how he eats. He tries to follow the same advice he gives to patients, including stay away from high-fat foods. You want to go toward a diet like a Mediterranean broad-based diet, minimizing red meat, focusing on white meat, focusing on fish, and avoiding drinking too much alcohol. Problem, that diet, Mediterranean thing, the way he described it, doesn't exist. It's not even there. It doesn't even exist. We already have problems. We're 2 paragraphs in. Swamanath recognizes the busy lives, blah, 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 accessibility issues, and healthy eating. It's never going to be perfect. Well, geez, if your GI doctor is saying it's never going to be perfect, I guess we're hosed. How are we ever going to do the stuff that he does? So what he eats for breakfast, this is great. Regular days, coffee. Though he admits his dietitian says it's terrible, the GI doctor that has a dietitian.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that this is a dietitian that probably works in his office. I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe he's got one in his closet that he just pulls out when he eats. I'm not sure. But he takes a morning cup with lactose-free milk. Is this real milk or processed milk? Is this real sugar or processed sugar? When he knows lunch is going to be iffy due to a what kind of patient schedule? Packed. Why? Because he's an idiot. He opts for coffee with an egg. Wait, I thought was he a vegetarian? So I'm confused. Are you confused? He's a vegetarian. He's a confused vegetarian. He's a lacto something, right? Because I'm Indian, we've always got some kind of chutney, put a layer between the bread and the egg. It's delicious on the weekend. Is this processed? In a bag from some crap hole? Yeah, probably. Egg, cheese. Oh, and once again, we've got the egg and the cheese. So he's he's not a lacto. He's not what kind of vegetarian is he again? I'm confused. But he's got a breakfast burrito and hash browns if my kids are demanding it. Oh, his kids are as demanding as mine are. If little Johnny won't eat it, little Johnny won't eat it. What he eats for lunch, that was just breakfast. See how we've already got one foot in the grave? Here's lunch. Salad from Sweet Green, which is a grab-and-go place near his office. It's really filling. It's a decent source of protein, fat, and fiber. At this point, I don't even know if he knows what protein, fat, and fiber are, but we'll continue. If he gets hungry, he reaches for a pre-portioned bag of trail mix, cashews, almonds. Pre-portioned bag, so it's probably processed, probably roasted. He doesn't have much time for lunch because he's busy, man. He's cutting people's guts out of them. I don't have time to eat. I'm pulling intestines like a sailor. Vegetarian option in the cafeteria. Is it going to be a good cafeteria or crap hole in the hospital? Yeah. Hospital crap hole. Vegetarian sandwich. Bread, more than likely. Dinner, lentils, flatbread, processed. This is the best thing I've seen on this whole thing. Salt, turmeric, and coconut. That's the best thing I've seen. Dal tacos, tofu. Is that processed? Processed soybeans, because he's a vegetarian. Fridays are cheat nights. You know what? He has cheat nights. My gastroenterologist has cheat nights. We need to have cheat nights. What does he do for Friday night? It's pizza. Perfect. Honey, call Pizza Hut. We're usually watching a family movie. That's the only time my kids have a soda. So the gastroenterologist kids have a soda. Honey, I think it's okay if little Johnny has Little Caesars and Sprite on Friday night when we do movie night. And if he's wanting something sweet, what's he do? Cereal. Cereal. Just a small bowl, like a scoop of ice cream, while making it clear to his kids, hey, this is a treat, not a meal. So, problems. Here we go. Where are we? So problems, here we go. GI doctors should know what to eat, right? If GI doctors aren't going to train you how to eat, who are you going to go to train you how to eat? Because your school didn't teach you, your dentist didn't teach you. Who are you going to learn how to eat from? How about these weird chiropractors that don't take insurance and don't do x-rays? How about those guys? Don't eat processed foods. Yeah, what does he eat? Processed foods. Continue. He's a vegetarian, but he eats eggs. He says stay away from fat, but God made fat, but he's doing lactose-free milk, eggs, tofu, which is all this processed nonsense. Keep going. Mediterranean diet doesn't exist. He has a dietitian. It's processed. He's the chief GI. Keep going. On busy days, he has lots of patients. Unbelievable. So here's the point. These are the experts about GI health run in USA Today for millions of people to read. So is it any wonder, what do the experts on genetics have to say? Remember, also, from the very beginning, what's considered genetic diseases? Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Remember from the National Institute of Health thing? The colon cancer stuff, the ulcerative colitis stuff, and the Crohn's disease, they tell you it's all genetic. But we just saw a gastroenterologist trying to kill himself with his fork. Next. Maybe DNA and genetics aren't as foolproof as we've been taught. Lydia Fairchild, can you go to that, I don't know if it's in there. Yeah, that link right there. And we'll check that here. Well, Lydia Fairchild, I'll just read this to you real quick. Understand this? You've never heard of this. I know you've never heard of this. American woman who exhibits chimerism. Did you know that there are human chimeras? Having two distinct populations of DNA among the cells of her body. Oh, wait a minute. So you're talking about she has two different types of DNA? That's what they're saying. She was pregnant with her third child when she and the father of her children separated. When Lydia Fairchild applied for enforcement of child support in 2002, providing DNA evidence of her husband's paternity was a routine requirement. While the results showed that Townsend to be the Jamie, the guy, to be the father, they seemed to rule out her being the mother. She stood accused of fraud by either claiming benefits for other people's children, or taking part in a surrogacy scam. Records of her births were put similarly in doubt. Prosecutors called for her two children to be taken away from her, blah, 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 believing them not to be hers. At that time, as time came for her to give birth to her third child that was already in her, the judge ordered that an observer be present at the birth. Ensure that blood samples were immediately taken from both the child and Fairchild and to be available to testify. 2 weeks later, DNA tests, what do you think it showed? DNA tests of the child that was in her. DNA tests seemed to indicate that she was not the mother of the child that she just gave birth to. So either we have ineptitude, unbelievable ineptitude in the court system, or you've got a chimera human who has two different types of DNA giving birth to kids that look like they're not hers in front of people who are testifying in court. A breakthrough came when her defense attorney learned of Karen Keegan, another chimeric woman, how did people know about this, in Boston, and suggested a similar possibility of Lydia Fairchild, and then introduced an article in the New England Journal of Medicine, one of the biggest journal articles in the United States, about Keegan. He realized that Fairchild's case might be caused by chimerism. As in Karen Keegan's case, which we won't look at. We could, but it'll take too much time. DNA samples were taken from members of an extended family. The DNA of Fairchild's children matched that of Fairchild's mother to the extent expected of a grandmother. And they also found that although the DNA in Fairchild's skin and hair did not match her children's, the DNA from a cervical smear test did match. Fairchild was carrying two different sets of DNA, the defining characteristic of chimerism. What does that mean? That means somehow something changed her DNA. But wait, there's more. Next. So and we'll look at that. Oh, yeah. Let's just go ahead and look at this. Human chimera. Blow this up a little bit. Is a human with a subset of cells with a distinct genotype than other cells having a genetic chimerism. An organism that contains a mixture of human and non-human cells would be a human-animal chimera. So if you get a pig valve put in your heart and you get a bunch of vaccines from plants, animals, bacteria, monkeys, kidneys of monkeys, bovine, porcine. You're taking all kinds of drugs. You're getting genetics from 50 different angles. You get a blood transfusion from a junkie that just sold his plasma down the street. Then you get a kidney transplant. What are we doing? What has medicine done? Oh, it gets better. So some consider mosaicism to be a form of chimerism, while others consider it to be distinct. Mosaicism involves a mutation of genetic material in a cell, giving rise to a subset of cells that are different from the rest. Let's scroll down. I want you to see natural chimerism. Dutch sprinter Fokke Dilemma, that's quite a name, was expelled from the 1950 national team after she refused a mandatory sex test in July of 1950. This has been going on for almost 100 years. Later investigations revealed a Y chromosome in her body cells, and the analysis showed that she was probably a 46XX, 46XY mosaic female. So she's got both types of chromosomes, but she looks like a female, but she's got male and female chromosomes. In 1953, a human chimera, how are all these chimeras happening? Was reported in the British Medical Journal. A woman was found to have blood containing two different blood types. Apparently, this resulted from her twin brother's cells living in her body. A 96 study found that such blood group chimerism is not rare. What are you talking about? What about blood chemistry analysis? What about crime scene investigations? What about paternity tests? What about genetic tests? What do you mean? There's all of these chimeras? And this is just stupid Wikipedia. I don't recommend Wikipedia, but I mean, if you just search this stuff out, you're like, God, this has been going on for 70 years. In 2002, an article in the NEJM described a woman later identified, here's a small excerpt about Karen Keegan, in whom tetragametic chimerism was unexpectedly identified after she underwent preparations for kidney transplants. Those preparations for the transplant required the patient and her immediate family to undergo histocompatibility testing, the result of which had suggested that she was not the biological mother of 2 of her 3 children. She goes in to get a kidney transplant, they do a bunch of testing, figure out if the kidney that she receives is going to be okay, the histocompatibility, the tissue compatibility for her body, and they find out your 2 kids aren't yours. Crazy. Lydia Fairchild, the thing we just read about, that's another example of chimerism. And in 2009, singer Taylor Mull's large torso birthmark was diagnosed as resulting from chimerism. So basically they're saying, well, you had a twin, and the twin died, and you absorbed the twin's body. Scroll down a little bit. Non-intentional chimerism related to treatments. Look at this. 2019, the blood and seminal fluid of a man in Reno, Nevada who had undergone a vasectomy exhibited only the genetic content of his bone marrow donor. Wait a minute. So if people are getting bone marrow transplants for leukemia and bone cancer, where are the transplanted cells coming from? Another human. So he could have blood and seminal fluid that exhibited the genetic content of the donor. Show me that on a crime scene investigation show, right? Swabs from his lips, cheek, and tongue showed mixed DNA. The DNA content of semen from an assault case in 2004 matched that of a man who had been in prison at the time of the assault, but who'd been a bone marrow donor for his brother, who was later determined to have committed the crime. So if you're swapping fluids with people, this is crazy. Happens every day. Happens every day. What are we creating? An absolute cluster. That's what we're creating, right? So let's go back to the PowerPoint. I just wanted you to see, and human-animal chimeras include humans having undergone non-human to human xenotransplantation, which is the transplantation of living cells, tissues, or organs from one species to another. Scroll down a little bit. Patient-derived xenografts are created by xenotransplantation of human tumor cells into immunocompromised mice. So they're putting mice cells into humans, and we're mixing animals, man. This is chimera. This is like Greek mythology, but it's real.
Yep.
You're going to see centaurs and minotaurs walking around.
Yep.
So let's go back to PowerPoint. I just wanted you to see this and show you that gene theory and all the genetic crap that we believe may not be true. And I'm about to show you a big one right here. Central dogma of biology. How many of you know this? DNA to RNA to protein. Have you ever taught or taken a biology class? That's the central dogma. That's what they call it. That's not me, that's them. That the DNA codes for the RNA, and the RNA goes out and builds the protein. That's what that means. DNA codes for protein. So when you insert something here, like mRNA, let's just say. Has anybody heard of that? What are you doing? You're changing the way that the human being is able to create protein. Nuts. Why would you want to do that? Many reasons. Chromosomes are long strands of DNA. We covered that at the beginning. I showed you, that's why I showed you the pictures. There are segments called genes on the chromosomes. Each gene codes for a specific protein, or at least that's what we're told. There's a problem with this. I'll show you, and it all comes from one paper published in 1961 called General Nature of the Genetic Code for Proteins. Everyone in genetics, every genetics book always goes back to this one paper. There's a problem with it. I'm going to show you. Next. Double helix model of DNA. Even the stuff that we showed you at the beginning with the 2 snakes, that shape, is it real? How do we know that DNA is a double helix? The actual paper in the journal Nature admits that they didn't really know at the time. About 10 separate statements in the famous paper state that Watson and Crick assumed DNA was a double helix. How did they assume that it was a double helix? Simple. It actually came from a dream that his wife had.
Oh my.
So even your image in your mind of what the DNA double helix is fake. Watson and Crick were funded by who? Foundations that were supported by life insurance companies. And like I always tell you, it's not the drug companies that rule the world, it's the insurance companies that rule the world. Right? So could she have had a demonic dream? Could she have been like the
You think?
medical medium that a spirit whispers in his ear, the spirit of compassion? Could it have been that he was being deceived, that his wife was being deceived in a dream? Next. It's unbelievable. So here's a problem with the Human Genome Project, because if you look into genetics and you talk to people about the stuff, they're going to go, yeah, but the Human Genome Project says this and that. Here's the problem. They say humans have 150 to 200,000 genes. Each protein is coded for by one gene. So how many genes should we have? About 150 to 200K. If you do the math, I know it's difficult, but you should have a gene per protein. We got a problem because the Human Genome Project says we have 20,000 genes. So apparently all the scientists can't do math, because that means that there are 130,000 or so genes that have no code. There's a problem with the Human Genome Project. Don't put your faith in it. It's a casino. That's all it is. Heidi, you ready for some? It's a casino. We could go into the CRISPR technology. We could go into the Human Genome Project. We could poke holes in the Human Genome Project all day long. It would accomplish nothing, I assure you. But just know that it's all smoke and mirrors. Come on up, Heidi.
All right. This patient, she said, I was taking 9 drugs, eating fast food all the time, and eating my sweet and salty snacks whenever. I had headaches almost all of the time. My blood sugar would drop all the time and really quickly. My skin was full of blisters. My legs were swollen and many other ailments. I cut most of my drugs, stopped eating fast food, and started taking supplements. Now I have no headaches, no blood sugar drops, and no more blisters or swelling in my legs. I now hope to be on the road to recovery from my 50-year lymphedema and herniated disc.
That was all of it was genetic. All of it. Just kidding. See, this is fake. All this, fake. You'll see it on every TV show. You'll see it all over the place. Fake. It's all fake. If anyone ever asks you what Jesus would do, remind him that flipping over tables and chasing people with a whip is within the realm of possibilities. Did you guys all fall asleep or what? That's a funny one right there. Next. There are 12 companies that own the majority of the food industry. We need to stop buying all of this nonsense. It's poisoning us. Yeah, scroll around on that, Jonathan. Let everybody see that. You got Mars. Where's Mars headquartered? Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Pepsi, Coke, Kraft, Mondelez, British Foods. I didn't know they ate food. P&G. Oh, is there a Procter & Gamble place in this town?
What is it?
Procter & Gamble. Yeah, there's a big Procter & Gamble.
I think there is.
Yeah, there's a big coven of witches. Yeah. So look at all that crap. I tell people, if it's in a store, don't put it on or in your body. They think I'm nuts, but I'm just telling you. All these companies, you want to know who owns them? All the people that like to do weird things on islands.
Yeah.
Next. I'll just let that one sink in. Remember back when we used to have bugs on the windshield?
Yes.
Whatever happened?
Yeah, bugs.
Whatever happened? You'd drive across the country and the front of your car would look like a Civil War battlefield, and it doesn't happen anymore. Why would that be?
Serving them for lunch.
Huh?
They're serving them for lunch.
They're serving them for lunch. That could be, yeah. They're putting them in the kids' menu. There's an abundance of oil, coal, gas, food, water. Scarcity is being fabricated by psychopaths. Why? Because God is more than enough. Right? There is no scarcity of any of those things. None of them. I know they tell you that oil is a fossil fuel, which is fake, but all of this stuff, we're not running out of food and water. We're not running out of land. It's all fake to get people freaked out. Next. What are your political views? I'll point it out for those who can't see. There's a horse, a horse, a horse, and a horse attached to each appendage of a politician. This is what we would call, in my hometown, we would call this drawn and quartered.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we used to do for fun after high school. Next. The Church of NASA. People are either worshiping NASA
For the moon.
for thinking that they're going to the moon, or you're going to believe God, or you're going to believe man. That's it.
NASA in Hebrew means deceiving.
It sure does. NASA means deceive in Hebrew, yes. They're waking up. Shit! Send NASA to the moon on April Fool's Day and fake the moon landing again.
Exactly what happened. That's what was on April Fool's Day.
Yes. And if you don't know, this is the scene from The Truman Show with the grand director directing the entire show. So, yeah. They're doing it again because you didn't hang them last time. Yes, yes. Human beings do not need to be vaccinated against anything. The concept of inoculating an industrial allopathic substance to fulfill a biological effort that, supposedly, the human body would not be capable of producing in its natural state to remain immune is an absolute blasphemy to the natural law of the creation of life and the creator of it. Ugh, it makes me sick. Next. Okay, here is a humdinger. I want you all to put your ears on. Listen to this one, because why? What can animals tell us about genetic diseases? How is it that with all the focus placed squarely on human genetics, why don't we see genetic diseases in animals? Can anyone answer that? Anybody? How is it possible that animals don't have genetic diseases? How's it possible?
Maybe they don't have genes.
Maybe they don't have genes. Well, they reproduce, each one after his own kind, right? And when Noah, male and female,
Yeah, breeds maintain.
yeah. So what you are told is a genetic disease is actually an effect of malnutrition. How do we know? Because all animals and humans that die of natural causes die of a nutritional deficiency. What do you mean? I mean this. We have cured all birth defects in animals by prevention with proper nutrition. What do you mean? I mean this. Animal husbandry is as old as society itself. All industries involving animals have eliminated every single birth defect in animals. So how do we not do it in humans? Let me explain. Next. Animal industries completely and officially eliminated all blood sugar problems in animals in the 1950s. But your relatives and your friends and your family still think they have diabetes. All of the common diseases suffered by you and the people that you know have been completely prevented and eliminated in every animal population. How is it possible? These diseases have nothing to do with genetics and everything to do with environment and nutrition. How could that possibly be? I will show you. Well, a dog owner could afford health insurance for one dog, but a cattle farmer, you can't operate that way. You can't insure an entire herd of cattle. But if you've got one dog at home and you want to have health insurance for your dog, which I don't recommend, just stay away from vets, period. We become your eye doctor, we become your dentist, we become your OBGYN, we become your pediatrician, we also become your veterinarian. That's up to you though. If you want your dog to get poisoned with rabies shots and heartworm medication and flea and tick garbage, be my guest, go for it. It's up to you. But you don't need dog insurance, you don't need health insurance for you or your dog, but a lot of people do it. That's why you hear of diabetes and depression in dogs, but not in cows. How is that possible? Somebody told me today, who was it? They said there's commercials on TV for drugs for dogs for diabetes or depression or something like that. And I said, that's funny. We're talking about that tonight. But you hear people, their dog is on Xanax, or their dog is on Zoloft or Xanax or Prozac or something because their dog has separation anxiety disorder. You've heard it. You've all heard it. It's been stated that there is no known deformity of human offspring that cannot be duplicated in test animals by creating the proper deficiency in the mother's diet. There is no known deformity of humans that we can't duplicate in a lab by starving an animal of a nutrient. We're the only creation that can acquire, that means grab, acquire, pick up, obtain, right, a disease via genetics. So months ago, when I told everybody there is no such thing as a cure for a genetic disease because there is no such thing as a genetic disease, I caught a lot of shit for that. Well, I'm here to tell you, we've already eliminated it in dogs. We've already eliminated everything in dogs, except for when they're poisoned or when they're malnourished. So you mean to tell me that all the hospitals all the cancer centers, all the nursing homes, all the Alzheimer's care centers. What are they doing? We've already taken care of it in cats, dogs, pigs, chickens, cattle, horses, every farm animal, sheep, and goats, all of it. Why? Because they're cash crops, right? But humans, if you can trick them into rolling up their sleeve, consenting, or getting them to poison themselves 3 times a day through a drug because you scared the hell out of them and made them afraid that their head was going to blow off, so they have to take something to slow their heart down so that it doesn't function properly, blood pressure meds. If you can trick them and get them to consent to killing themselves, you can make a ton of money off of them. But with animals, we got to keep them alive. We have to. So the question, if it's not genetics, then what is it? And I could go on. I could do a 12-hour class just on what animals tell us. There is no arthritis. There is no Alzheimer's. There is no depression. There is no heart disease. But if you remove one mineral, or if you remove one vitamin from a flock of birds or a herd of cattle, you will see them fall apart at the exact same rate because we've done it for decades and we know how to do it. So if we fix it why do dogs and cats get sick? Anybody? The shitty food, the shitty vaccines, and the shitty drugs. The same as it is in humans. I won't read all this, but Dr. Wesley Price. So what if it's not genetics? What is it? Well, Dr. Wesley Price, watch the DDNH 194. I did a whole 2-hour class on Dr. Wesley Price. You might want to know who that is because he was one of the baddest dudes of the 3 nutritional pioneers of the 20th century. Wesley Price, right here. And I'll tell you, chronic disease did not occur in indigenous populations until the deficient foods of civilization were introduced. His studies revealed dental caries, cavities, and deformed dental arches resulting in crowded, crooked teeth are the result of nutritional deficiencies, not inherited genetic defects. I won't read the rest of that. I'm just trying to blaze through this because I know we got to get out of here. But Dr. Wesley Price, next one. Pioneer of human nutrition, Francis Pottinger. Did a whole class on him. That's DDNH 197. You might want to check that out. Pottinger's cats. I don't see anybody writing anything down, but you might want to write that down. DDNH 197. Reactions of deficiency become hereditary. See that right there? Each generation becomes worse than the last due to malnutrition. Your great-grandmother did not have hot flashes. Your grandmother probably didn't have hot flashes. Your mom definitely had hot flashes, and if you don't get your crap together, you're definitely going to have worse hot flashes. That's how that works. Reactions of deficiency become hereditary. The soil gets worse every year. We spray more poisons on it every year. The plants suck up more minerals every year. People get sicker every year. If you do not supplement, if you do not put stuff back in your body, you are running on borrowed time. Birth defects can be prevented. He also proved this. Birth defects can be prevented, but not always fully reversed because it's already done. The goose is already cooked, right? But the body cannot make something out of nothing. So if your body has something that it needs immediately and it's not there, even down to the days and the hours of conception during fertilization of the egg, you can be in a problem. That's what Down syndrome is. Can you reverse it? Partly, if you get to it on time, if you get to it ahead of time. But, I mean, the world is in such a catastrophe. Do you think they're going to bring their kids with Down syndrome here where we don't accept insurance and not go to the expert specialists at Vanderbilt? Probably not. So that's number 2, nutritional pioneer of the 20th century that you've never heard of unless you've come here. Number 3, but I put him as number 1 really, Dr. Royal Lee. Did a whole class on him. You might want to write this down in your notebook, DDNH 201, 21 predictions of Dr. Royal Lee. We talk about a lot of stuff in there you're never going to hear anywhere else. That class right there will single-handedly blow your mind. So if it's not genetics, what is it? Well, we know this about pregnancy. Thiamine, if you take out the B1, you're going to have heart rhythm and size problems. That's how all these kids have, oh, he had a hole in his heart, and the surgeon had to go in, and the cardiothoracic guy had to fly in from London, and they had to put the kid on a slab, and they had to cut him open, and they had to fix the hole in the kid's heart. Why'd the kid have a hole in his heart? B2, failure to thrive. That's a new one. If you don't have riboflavin. But now don't go running out and buying B1 and B2 and B6 and B9 at the local health food store because you're just going to have synthetic megadose nutraceutical white powder shipped in from China. That's all that is at a health food store. If you turn it over on the ingredient list and you see thiamine, riboflavin, pyridoxine, you see all that stuff, bet your bottom dollar that it was a white powder, crystalline powder from a laboratory. But you'll find them in foods in their natural form. That's why we do what we do here. If you have a club foot or a cleft lip or a cleft palate, guess what you're missing at the time of gestation? B6. If you have a B9 deficiency, that's why all the women that get pregnant, they're like, I got to take some folic acid. I got to take some folic acid. Because what don't they want? They don't want problems with the brain or the spinal cord. And that's how, when you have part of your spinal cord coming out your butt, and there's a little hairy tuft right there, it's called spina bifida. It's because that didn't close up. You needed B9. How do we know this? Because we've witnessed it for decades. Vitamin A. If you take out vitamin A, that's a primary cause of infant blindness during pregnancy. All the blind schools, guess what? They didn't need to happen. So what does that tell you about autism? It tells you it's not genetic, right? And then the animals intentionally starved of vitamin A. You can't even form eyes without vitamin A. Isn't that crazy? But is that in your textbooks? Nah. Next. So examples of valproate. Here's just an example of, okay, if it's not genetics, what is it? Here's an example. What if we fed you a bunch of valproate? What are you going to have? Congenital malformations. It's an anti-epileptic drug. What did we discuss about epilepsy already? Poison, malnutrition. So they're giving you a drug to fix the problem of having too much of a toxin in your body. It was widely prescribed for epilepsy, bipolar, and migraines. Genetic. See how that works? So children born to mothers who took valproate during pregnancy exhibited congenital malformations, developmental delays, cognitive impairments. Initially, these were considered isolated conditions or attributed to genetic factors. Weird. Never heard that before. Over time, epidemiological studies established a clear link between prenatal exposure to valproate and these adverse outcomes. Health authorities now advise against valproate use during pregnancy unless it's absolutely necessary. I mean, you might have a kid with, congenital anomalies, but no big deal. If you've got some epilepsy or bipolar or migraines and you really, really need it, make sure you take it, right? Here's another example. The Dutch hunger winter during World War II, 44-45. You got the Nazis occupying and doing blockades of the Nazi occupation and blockades by the English Navy caused schizophrenia to go 200% higher in Dutch. Medicine would say schizophrenia is genetic. We say, let's check out the next thing. General malnutrition caused by famine during pregnancy. Here's a little article. If you don't know what you're reading, you go, oh, geez, schizophrenia. It has to be genetic. Long-term research by Columbia and University Hospital Utrecht in the Netherlands showed a significant spike in schizophrenia during the Dutch hunger winter, a severe famine that occurred between 44 and 45. The incidence of schizophrenia was 200% higher among Dutch who were conceived, gestated, and born during the Nazi occupation and blockade late in World War II, during which all transport of food was banned over inland waterways to the western part of Holland, where such large cities as Amsterdam, Rotterdam, and The Hague are located. Adding to the severe rationing since early in the war, the situation was soon desperate. There was a high mortality rate during the famine and a significant increase in neural tube defects in babies. They were starving. Much like a tree does not show growth rings during years of drought, the layers or folds of areas in the brain apparently did not develop in the fetuses of starving pregnant women. They're malnourished. Their brains aren't developing, right? But medicine would call this genetic. See? These children were far more likely to develop schizophrenia. The study led the researchers to suggest that half of all schizophrenia may be the result of malnutrition during pregnancy. What are they feeding schizophrenia patients in the mental hospitals? Pop-Tarts. At least they were last time I was there. This has great implications for the study of schizophrenia and other forms of developmental mental illness. Certain cases of schizophrenia can almost certainly be considered birth defects related to nutritional deficiency. So if you starve somebody during conception, gestation, and birth, you're going to have stuff like cerebral palsy. You're going to have stuff like neuroepileptic problems. You're going to have stuff like congenital anomalies. You're going to have stuff like blindness. It's crazy. Is medicine teaching this? No. But you're also going to see a rising number as this goes on through time, as the soil is depleted, as people eat crappier and crappier foods. you're going to see the LGBTQIA plus list of things getting longer and longer because you're going to have more and more intersex. In other words, the hermaphroditic intersex, the people born with both sets of stuff. You're going to see that more and more because you're going to have more and more poisoning and you're going to have more and more malnutrition. So if you're, but at the same time, what if the parents of some of these, is anybody asking, okay, so we've got this intersex girl over here. She looks female, but she's got boy parts and girl parts. So she's intersex. So the LGBTQI, that's her. But it's about 0.01% of the population, but it does happen. So then everybody's like, well, it's genetic. No. Were her parents on any valproate? Could her parents have been on any previous drugs or had transplants or had bone marrow transplants? Or could they have been starved for nutrition? Or could they have been on epilepsy drugs or blood pressure drugs? Or could they have had a blood transfusion or other toxic witchcraft that they were on? Like, remember thalidomide back in the 40s? Like, all these women went on a nausea drug. They were pregnant. They put them on a nausea drug, right, to keep them from puking. What did they do? They spit out kids with no arms, no legs. Thalidomide. Remember this? Anybody in this room know what I'm talking about? Nobody knows what I'm talking about? One person knows what I'm talking about? Thalidomide. It's a drug. Tens of thousands of kids born in the 30s and 40s and 50s, I think it was, no arms, no legs. It was caused by a drug. Never heard about it. So no one looks at the possibility of congenital malformations actually being caused by anything other than genetics. 20 people in this room, and you might be the only ones out there that know this. Because everyone you know is going to think that that kid was born with a genetic problem, but you're going to know, I wonder if the parents were on drugs. I wonder if the mom was held up in a Nazi blockade during World War II and was starved during gestation, right? Here's a myth we talked about back in, I don't know what it was, Medical Mythbusters or whatever, back in February. Genetic research is uncovering the root cause of many diseases. Big myth. Fact? Here's the fact. Study of genes to treat disease is aimed largely at raising money for research. Despite a fabricated genetic cause for many diseases, there are no genetic cures. None. There are no genetic cures for any disease. Genetic testing is advertised as better medical care, but this will only lead to more government surveillance from cradle to grave. People are going to be told that their disease can be caught earlier for more efficient treatment, blah, blah, blah. The answer will surely be a wonder drug or another mRNA vaccine. Moving on. If you go and you just Google, or you just go to the next slide, if you just look for gene therapy drugs, look at this. This is just in the last couple of years. What are these for? We're going to dig into this one heavily. But what are they for? Well, we'll get to what are they for. Oh, right here. Sickle cell, beta thalassemia, hemophilia, spinal muscular atrophy, and Leber's congenital malformation. How many of you in here know people with those diseases? That's what I thought. So why are they focusing all the money and the research on fixing diseases that no one has? Good question. We'll get to it. Gene editing, gene replacement. They are coming. The Nephilim are coming.
Amen. There you go.
Yeah, dude.
So delivery, IV infusion. Why has it got to be a snake bite? We got to get it in your blood, brother. We can't have you eat this drug. We got to put it in your flesh. Next. Cure. They changed the name of cure. They changed the definition. When you see this, it means sickle cell disease. They want people with sickle cell disease to have fewer recurrent vaso-occlusive crises. A VOC is when you have a muscle cramp. A muscle cramp is a nutritional deficiency. The TDT thing is a transfusion-dependent beta thalassemia. You're going to see these things here in a minute. I just wanted you to know what they are. So when they do the studies, you got 31 people, you got 35 people. Does that sound like a big enough study?
No.
Of course not. Doesn't matter. Doesn't have to make sense. Cure means no severe. So when they say they cured these diseases, it means that the patient had no severe vaso-occlusive crises for 1 year, or that they were transfusion independent for 1 year. Doesn't mean that the disease is gone. It just means they didn't go to the hospital. See how they changed the name of the definition of cure? Think about how these people do this. Numbers on a blood lab within a certain specified range dictate a cure. It is not the absence of symptoms. It is not the achievement of health. It is the fact that we have manipulated your blood to be within here, and therefore we call that a cure. Do you understand? Check, or next. So here is, we're just going to blaze through this, but here it is. Casgevy, autologous, one-time CRISPR-Cas9 edited cellular gene therapy. You know people who are going to go for this. The goal with the sickle cell is to get rid of the severe VOCs. In trial 1, we had 29 out of 31 patients that did not experience any protocol-defined VOCs for at least 12 consecutive months after the infusion. And over here with the transfusion dependent, they're 2 different diseases. They're giving one drug for 2 different diseases. Why? How do they do that? Because this one's for black folk, this one for white folk.
Oh, Lord.
That's how it works. Same disease. They don't tell you that. In trial 2, you got 32 out of 35 patients that maintained a weighted average of hemoglobin over 9 grams a deciliter without red blood cell transfusions for at least 12 consecutive months. So here, they got rid of their transfusions for 12 months, and here they got rid of muscle cramps. That's a cure. Next. And people always ask, or at least in the comments in social media cesspools, they'll say, well, they've cured hepatitis. Really? Here's the cure for hepatitis. The cure definition, and you can look this up on your own. You don't have to have a degree. Just go look. The cure definition, a patient is considered cured when the hepatitis C virus, which is fake, RNA, is undetectable in their blood 12 weeks after finishing treatment, known as a sustained virologic response. That's the definition of the cure. So when it says hepatitis C is curable, now you're going to see these commercials on TV. You're going to see hepatitis C, a drug, blah, blah, blah. We cured hepatitis C. You're not supposed to be able to use that word, but I've noticed it over the years. I've seen, how are they saying this? How would they cured hepatitis C? It's curable for more than 95% of patients using modern direct-acting antiviral DAA medications. So people are going to Google this, they're going to look it up, and they're going to go, they cured it, but they don't know that they changed the definition of the word cure. Just like they changed the definition of vaccine, just like they changed the definition of gender, they changed the definition of woman so hard that they forgot what it was. Next, Casgevy. This is probably the most disturbing thing in the whole, we gotta hurry though. It was approved by the FDA in December. It's the first gene therapy to use a special technology called CRISPR-Cas9. If you haven't heard of this yet, you're gonna hear about it, which changes a specific part of your, they're coming out with a whole slew, a whole protocol, a whole platform of these drugs that will change your DNA. Your friends and your family members and your dudes at church and all your friends that are getting signed up for chemotherapy, this is what they're doing. I'm gonna show you. You're in the, Casgevy, go to the website. Sorry, I've got a lot of stuff for you. But the Casgevy thing, you're gonna see, they say it's a 1 infusion drug. What does that sound like to you when you hear it for the first time? How many times are you gonna have to take it?
1 infusion.
Sounds like I walk in, sounds like I sit down, I give them my vein, they put a needle, they give me a snake bite, they put something, God knows whatever, in me, I walk out. That's what it sounds like, right? Not quite. Scroll down. Now, this is so messed up and so ludicrous and so stupid. Scroll down a little bit more. Right here. How will I receive? I just want to read this little chunk right here. So yeah, your healthcare provider is going to give you other medications. Now, well, and let's define, what is the difference between a medicine and a medication? We have to play the game. A medicine could be anything. A medicine could be laughter. A medicine could be good food. A medicine could be a friend, hanging out, music. But what is a medication? A drug. Your healthcare provider will give you, now this is the 4-step thing in how we do this whole process, okay? This is one drug. There are dozens that all follow the same format. So your healthcare provider will give you other medicines. Is it going to be a medicine or is it going to be a medication? Medication. But using medicine makes it sound better. Including a conditioning medicine. What does that mean? It means chemotherapy. That's what that means. As part of your treatment with Casgevy, it's important to talk to your healthcare provider about the risks. After receiving the conditioning medication, chemotherapy, it may not be possible for you to become pregnant or father a child. You should discuss options for fertility preservation with your healthcare provider before treatment. And I have a card of one of my Freemason buddies that I play golf with on Saturday, who's an IVF specialist. Here, go see him. He's right down the hallway. He'll give me some kickbacks. See how that works? Step 1, before Casgevy treatment, a doctor is going to give you mobilization medicine. What does that mean? So you already see that it's not a one infusion thing. You're going to get a list of shit. You see this? But they tell you it's one transfusion, it's one infusion, it's one shot. Watch what happens. Possible for more mobilization medicines. The medicine moves blood stem cells from your bone marrow into the bloodstream. The blood stem cells are then collected in a machine that separates the different blood cells called apheresis. This entire process may happen more than once. Oh, I wonder how long this takes. Interesting. Each time it can take up to 1 week. Oh, there's my answer. Got to do it more than once, so there's at least 2 weeks right there. Okay? During this step, rescue cells are collected and stored at the hospital. These are your existing blood stem cells and are kept untreated just in case there's a problem with the treatment process. Could anything go wrong? Nah. Cannot be given after the conditioning medication or if the modified blood cells don't take hold in the body. These rescue cells can be given back to you. If you're given a rescue cell, if you are given rescue cells, you'll not have any other treatment benefit from Casgevy. Step 2, that's just step 1. You've already got 2 different batches of conditioning and mobilization medicines, which are really medications, which are really chemo. That's just step 1. It gets better. Step 2, after they're collected, your blood stem cells will be sent to the manufacturing site where they're used to make Casgevy. What do they do there? They change your genes. So it may take up to 6 months from the time your cells are collected to manufacture and test it before it's sent back to you. Step 3, shortly before your stem cell transplant, that's what this is, it's a stem cell transplant, your healthcare provider is going to give you more chemotherapy for a few days while you're in the hospital. So is it a one infusion thing? You're in the hospital for a while, right? This is going to prepare you for treatment by clearing cells from the bone marrow so they can be replaced with the modified cells in Casgevy. After you're given this medicine, your blood cells levels will fall very low, blah, 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 and you will stay in the hospital for this step and remain in the hospital until after the infusion.
Are you immortal after all of this?
Yes, you are a Marvel superhero, yes. So you're going to be in the hospital for a while. 1 or more vials of Casgevy is going to be given into the vein over a short period of time. You don't actually get the infusion until step 4, after you've already been chemoed and radiated. Isn't this nuts? Hundreds of people, thousands of people are doing this. What should I avoid after receiving Casgevy? Oh, and hold on, right here. This can take, after the infusion, you stay in the hospital so your healthcare provider can closely monitor your recovery and bill Medicare for everything. Oh, wait, that wasn't there. This can take 4 to 6 weeks, but times can vary. So you're in the hospital for 4 to 6 weeks. See how that works? What should I avoid after receiving Casgevy? Watch this. I want you to see this. Do not donate blood, organs, tissues, or cells at any time in the future. Why? Because you're genetically modified.
Your blood will blow other people up.
You're genetically modified. And that's what they're doing. This is the actual website of the actual drug. Can you believe this? What are the possible reasonably likely side effects of Casgevy? Well, your blood could fall out of every orifice of your body. So we covered the mobilization more than once. We covered step 2. Everything gets sent to a manufacturing site. We covered step 3. Your stem cell transplant is going to have more chemo. Then you're going to step 4. You're going to get the infusion. So here's the PowerPoint. So here's the overview of just this one drug. Just this one drug. You're in the hospital for 4 to 8 weeks. You're from start to finish. The entire process could take 1 year, but you're going to be in the hospital for 4 to 8 weeks. It's only for U.S. residents, no other country. If you live in any other country, you can't do this. You have to visit an authorized treatment center, an ATC. I had to be a U.S. healthcare professional just to view the stuff and the prescribing info data sheets because they don't want you to see it. Oh my goodness. Next. And if you're interested, sign up at the front desk. These are all the authorized treatment centers. You can find one near you. And think about all of the resources, the human resources.
Vanderbilt, isn't it?
Probably.
There? Yeah, I think
Probably.
it makes sense.
I didn't bother. I just wanted to see how many. But isn't it interesting? You can't do it over here. You can't do it over here. Not down here. Just right here.
Only in Babylon.
Isn't that interesting? They don't want to save anyone else in the world from beta thalassemia or sickle cell disease. Only U.S. people, right? Isn't that nuts? Now, how much does it cost? 2.2 million.
Per patient.
Yes. All of this is for sickle cell patients to avoid painful episodes and for beta thalassemia patients to avoid transfusions and hospital trips. So my question, if they're putting all this money and energy and time and resources and setting up all these people at all these authorized treatment centers to give you chemotherapy for 4 to 8 weeks and for the whole process to take a year, if they're doing this, then there must be a lot of people that have these diseases. No, there aren't. I'm going to show you. How many people actually have sickle cell disease in the US? 100,000. Representing about 1 in 365 black people and 1 in every 16,000 Hispanic births. So why are they putting all this time, energy, effort, and money into fixing diseases that no one has? That's a good question. Next. How many people actually have transfusion-dependent beta thalassemia? In the US, 2023 estimates suggest there are roughly 2,000 to 3,000 people. Worldwide, maybe 100,000. So what are they really doing? I'll show you. Question. Who actually has any of these diseases? Watch. If you just do a search for a list of list of like drugs for genetic diseases, look at this. Babylonian demon name, Macedonian demon name, Persian demon name, spinal muscular atrophy, retinal dystrophy, hemophilia B, hemophilia A, Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. Anybody? Does anybody know anybody with these diseases? So we're looking for expensive treatments, cures for diseases that are actually symptoms of poisoning and malnutrition while we're harvesting all of this genetic data from the entire US population to fix diseases that no one has. But if you look at the next thing, what was the first gene therapy drug? Kresladi, March 26th, for the treatment of severe leukocyte adhesion deficiency, LAD1. What was the first gene therapy drug? It's for severe leukocyte adhesion. So my natural question was, next, how common is leukocyte adhesion deficiency 1? Leukocyte adhesion deficiency 1 is an extremely rare genetic disorder, like all the people that were on our thing saying I have a rare thing and I have 2 specialists, with an estimated incidence of literally 1 in a million. Literally 1 in a million. Isn't that nuts? So what are they really doing? We'll get there. So next. Now you've got millions. Oh, and why develop a drug for such a rare condition? Don't forget this one. Why develop a drug for such a rare? I asked the internet, tell me, why are we developing a drug for literally 1 in a million? No one else is wondering? Developed due to incentives under the Orphan Drug Act, which provides 7 years of market exclusivity. Nobody else can patent that drug. 25% tax credit, a waiver on all the fees, and accelerated approval pathways. So we want you to develop more drugs that will kill more humans, is what that says.
That makes sense.
So your people, your friends, your family who are falling for this nonsense, like this is just getting started. And I'm not talking just genetic diseases. I'm talking all of the stuff. I'm talking your Reader's Digest. I'm talking your magazines, your newspapers, all the crap they show you on TV. It's all fake. All of it's fake. I'll show you. Next. Oh, common genetic diseases. Look at that. Down syndrome. Really? That's a nutrition, poisoning, nutrition. But we're developing gene therapy and gene editing, CRISPR-Cas9 drugs with the infrastructure and the human resources and the investments from the venture capitalist firms to tackle all of this stuff, even though what's not on this list? What's a much higher ratio than 1 in 700, 1 in 10,000, 1 in 10,000. What is happening right now, an epidemic across the whole entire United States, most of the world, where 1 in 32 children is born with it. Autism. Is autism on that list? Huh, strange. Autism's a much bigger problem, but oh, wait a minute, that's right. Just like we talked about at the very beginning, autism's genetic, so we can't fix that. Even though you never heard of it until 30 years ago. How could this all be happening? I don't know. Maybe because there's millions of new proteins that are possible. None of them exist in nature. You've got these companies here all in the process of trying to change the world. How? You got Mark Zuckerberg doing one investigative run, and they came up with 700 million potential new proteins. 700 million potential new proteins that don't exist in nature, but if we get one in your blood, what will your body do? React to a foreign protein that was created by what? AI. See where this is going? So then you've got this AI model that was trained on 770 billion protein sequences. It simulates what? Evolutionary processes to design novel proteins. So it simulates something that never occurred to create stuff that shouldn't exist. Oh, this is worse. This is the Tower of Babel mixed with flesh. That's what this is. Next. So then a biotech company called Generate Biomedicines came up with a new monoclonal antibody treatment against the COVIDs. And this is an interesting trick since the COVIDs virus actually never was proven to exist anywhere in the world. No laboratory in the world actually has it. So what was it that was making everybody sick? If it wasn't a COVIDs virus, it was a poison. That's what the word virus means in Latin. It actually means poison. But nobody knows that. They just tell you, they show you a spiky red ball with spikes coming out of it. You know what that is? That's a cartoon. That doesn't exist. No one in the world has ever actually seen that shit under the microscope. No one. So what could all these useful new proteins be developed for? More drugs. Isn't that great? Isomorphic Labs, which is AI design of new drugs, is partnering with Eli Lilly, big drug company. Big drug company. Isomorphic raised $600 million in investments in 2025 alone, almost $1 billion. Can you believe that? Next. Throughout the AI new protein industry, all sorts of predictions are being made, such as cancer therapies that are customized for each unique patient. Remember Trump on day one? What'd he say? Standing there with Larry Ellison and a bunch of the Talmudic Babylonian witchcraft sorcerers. What were they saying? They were saying we're going to come up with cancer vaccines in 24 hours for you, based on your what? Genetics. Unbelievable. There's only one problem. These are totally unnatural new proteins. They don't exist in nature. So we're going to place them in the body, and that means the body is encountering compounds it has never encountered. These proteins had never existed, and therefore many unpredicted things can happen even after extensive safety testing. But who cares? There's a lot of money to be made, man. Who gives a rip? Get them on the shelves and let people inject the stuff as fast as they can. Who cares? Commercial break. You ready, Heidi? Yay!
So this patient, she said, I now have increased energy, a new wind, and renewed life from 7 years of a sedentary job that brought me here. 20 years of pain in my left foot due to jumping out of a swing as a child, immediately resolved and eliminated with Dr. Brett's magic fingers. I had major swelling in my right hand due to a stupid overdose of synthetic vitamins. That was immediately addressed and resolved with swelling reduced quickly with appropriate use of standard process supplements. The confidence I now have in the care I am receiving for the long haul of my life has radically increased and skyrocketed with physical evidence. I now belong and am receiving true health care and not the death care offered by our pharmaceutical-driven systems.
It's obviously all genetic. Thank you very much. Mean what you say what you mean. Isn't it great? Of all the things that never happened, this never happened the most. I want to celebrate April Fool's Day the proper way. How I sleep during any outbreak, because I know health authorities are full of shit. Health authorities, there's no such thing. Me, that's my hero from my childhood. Oh, yeah. I like to think we look a lot alike. Me ignoring propaganda. Yes. Let's get this straight. Every single time you buy GMO food, you're telling corporations to create more GMO products. Every time you buy sustainable, locally grown food, you're persuading local farmers to grow more healthy, sustainable food. Your dollars are where you vote. Your actual vote. The actual vote that matters, rather than the red donkey, blue elephant crap. Vote wisely. That's why we tell people, do not buy your food in stores. Get everything outside of stores. Imagine being so brainwashed, You fear the sun, but you trust seed oils. You avoid salt, but you drink diet soda. You fear raw milk, but you drink oat milk. You give your kids ADHD meds, but never question what you're feeding them. This is most people in 2026. Isn't it? This is your relatives. These are the people you can't talk to. We have come to experiment on you, plunder your resources, and enslave you forever. Oh, you're from the government. Oh, Lord. The most advanced machine on earth. And they will tell you it had no designer. That is why this is called divine design. That's why. So now we are going to get into, one more. Oh, yeah, this is good. We are at war with powers and principalities, rogue spiritual forces, and places of influence, prestige, and power. People are just interchangeable puppets. This is why voting is never going to work. We're at war with rebel fallen angels that are manipulating the world governments. We're going to show you what to do about them here in just a minute.
Yes.
Okay, now let's get to the solutions. Speaking from the grave, Royal Lee from 1955, he was at an Osteopathic Women's Association in California meeting speaking. This is stuff you're never going to find anywhere else. This is literally gold, because this is the leading Nikola Tesla of nutritional science for the 20th century. And he was run out of town, practically killed by the US government. And here's him talking about malnutrition and birth defects, type 2 diabetes, and Dupuytren's contractures. I will read this to you. To show you how important it is and just how it works, if you grow a plant on soil, you need to write some of this down. That's deficient in certain trace elements, such as zinc is an example. If you grow an orange tree on soil that's deficient in zinc, the first indication of zinc deficiency will be a so-called leaf curl. The leaves grow without developing to their normal form. There's something wrong with their blueprints. You can grow trees without phosphorus. You can grow trees without other elements that may be very low in the soil, and they'll still puddle along, but they won't have the deformed influence because the other elements' deficiencies may not have any influence upon the blueprints. Plants, what do they get? NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. That's what plants run off of, right? But plants do not manufacture minerals. Plants soak up minerals, right? So that's why he's saying you can give them phosphorus, NPK. But when there's a deformity of the leaf from some trace mineral deficiency, that's because the trace mineral is required in the formation of those cell records. In our food deficiencies in the human, and we'll talk more about this here in a minute. I'll explain this more in a minute. You'll see what I'm talking about. In our food deficiencies in the human, we have the same thing. It's an amazing thing how the reactions of deficiency tend to become hereditary. Dr. Pottinger demonstrated that in the cats. You need to watch that class if you haven't already. Pottinger's cats. He couldn't carry them more than 2 to 3 generations at most on the deficient diet, and each generation was much worse than the last. Since then, Dr. Pottinger has accumulated a lot of x-ray pictures of children, bones and so forth, showing how each generation is becoming worse than the last because of malnutrition. Not genetics, malnutrition. That's why, what do you see opening up in every city across this country? Pediatric dentistry centers. Not just a dentist office, a pediatric dentistry office. This specializes in what? Braces, orthodontics, moving teeth around, because the kids' faces are all messed up. There's two over behind, two right next to each other, right over behind the, what do you call it?
The banks, Tennessee Valley.
There's so many banks, I don't even know. There's 2 pediatric dentistry places behind Cava. 2 of them right next to each other. There's pediatric dentistry places everywhere. Brand new. Every city. Many of these things that we look upon, such as hair, lip, and cleft palate, are simply due to certain deficiencies. When you come to check the mother's nutritional pattern, you can always find that they have been living upon a very, very poor diet, and that is responsible for these changes. It's simply the fact that nature cannot make something out of nothing. And if we have certain deficiencies, you're going to have certain reactions. It's a statistical fact that parents with diabetes tend to have diabetic children. It's an alarming thing to see the acquired characteristics due to malnutrition become hereditary. Geneticists have always said that acquired characteristics could not be hereditary. But we have to change our conceptions on that, because those deformities and deficiencies in the human body that are due to malnutrition become hereditary. Big difference. He said this in 55. Big difference. You probably have all seen conditions of so-called Dupuytren's contracture in the hand. Even that tends to become hereditary. What's the cause? It's simply vitamin E deficiency. Now, we're not talking about vitamin E, the little capsules from the health food store, 400 IUs. That's not what we're talking about. I've seen many cases. We've been seeing them for years. We didn't realize 20 years ago, so in 1935, they didn't realize that they were due to malnutrition. Today, it's very well established. What is it? It's simply a situation in which the tendon structures of the fingers have shriveled up as they've been burned and contracted. Because why? They go into scar tissue because the nutritional pattern did not supply the elements to build tendon. You've all seen it. Your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, this. They can't pick up stuff. Hold up your hands. That guy. Hold them up.
This one was operated on before.
See this? This is called bishop's hand. That's what they call that. You've got the, the Pope thing. That's what they call that. So you've seen it in your aunts and your uncles and your grandparents. You've seen their hands crippled, turned like this, and you see the big, long tendons sticking out of their hands. That's what this is. But what is it? It's leaf curl in a human. I'm going to show you. So you can't build tendon because you've got your leaves are curling. So when the leaves curl in the plant that inhibits photosynthesis from a zinc deficiency, you don't have the zinc in the structure of the plant, and the plant can't open up and soak up the sun, and it can't get enough chlorophyll going, and so the leaves curl and the tree dies because it can't soak up the sun. That is Dupuytren's contracture in a plant, right? Oh, and remember, from the previous thing that we were talking about with Royal Lee, remember back in 2004, the CDC came out and said, it's the first generation of US children that will not outlive their parents. That was 20 years ago, by the way. So what Royal Lee was saying about nutrition becoming hereditary. So vitamin E deficiency, malnutrition in humans becomes shriveled tendon. And that becomes scar tissue because the nutritional pattern did not supply the elements to build tendon, right? So here, curled leaf. What is this? I'm going to explain to you. And here is the genius of Royal Lee. Next. A curled leaf, if it's got a curled leaf, you got a dying tree. And it's caused by a simple zinc deficiency. Without the photosynthesis, the plant cannot make carbohydrate to feed itself from the sun. So if you've got a curled leaf, one little thing like missing zinc is going to curl that leaf, and the whole tree is going to die because it can't soak up the sun. Structural problem becomes a chemical problem. Next. Dr. Lee used to have farms in northern Florida. He was interested in agriculture, and he'd heard during the Depression about an orange grove going out of business that was for sale. Genius. All along the country road to the house was orange trees. On every third or fourth orange tree, the farmer had nailed signs describing the farm, like the acreage, water rights, resources, price, whatever. The orange trees were dying of leaf curl. Dr. Lee noticed that all the trees with nails had lost the leaf curl and had become healthy. Where are we going with this? The farmer just happened to be using, galvanized nails. Galvanized nails, what's that? Uses zinc to prevent rust in metal. So the farmer was literally injecting zinc into the trees. He just needed that much trace mineral of zinc to turn the whole situation around. He called in the Department of Agriculture. They swooped in, discovered that the leaf curl is caused by zinc deficiency. Boom, that was in the 1930s. Fixed the whole problem within the plant kingdom. Because Dr. Lee noticed that the trees with the signs didn't die. Crazy. Why can't we notice this? If this is plants, why can't we do this in humans? Next. So here's the point. The orange grove had become failure by reason of worn out soil. The next season, every tree that had held a sign had good fruit, while the others were still barren, had no fruit. If it's just that much zinc on a nail, now I'm not recommending injecting a nail, but if it's just that much zinc that can turn the situation around on the surface of a nail, think about what we could do with this. There's your Dupuytren's contracture. See, tendons can't move. And its leaf curl in a tree is Dupuytren's contracture in a human. There's the, collagenized ligament, or the tendon, and there's what it looks like afterwards. Make sense? We're almost done. Next. Now, I want you to see this too. So when people say, let me read this right here. Oh, and this is what people search for. What are they going to find? I tell people, if you Google your symptoms at home, don't come in here. What are you going to find? You're going to find Medline. You're going to find Medscape. You're going to find WebMD. They're going to tell you that your hangnail is cancerous hemorrhoids and that you might as well hop in a casket. That's what they're going to tell you. Deputane's contracture is usually passed down through generations. Now, this is a medical journal. Passed down through generations and families and is the most common inherited disorder of connective tissue. The inheritance pattern is often unclear, but we know it's genetic. Some people who inherit gene changes associated with Deputane's contracture never develop the condition. So what does that mean? In some cases, it's not inherited. You see what does it say? And occurs in people with no history of the condition in their family. Sporadic cases tend to begin later and be less severe than familial cases. In other words, could be a kid, could be an adult, could be in the morning, could be at night, could be early in life, could be later. We don't know, but who cares? It doesn't have to make sense. Here's the thing I want you to get. Deputane's contracture, also known as, ready for this? Contracture of the palmar fascia, Dupuytren's disease, Dupuytren's contracture, familial palmar fibromatosis, palmar fascial fibromatosis, or palmar fibromas. Do you know how to differentially diagnose between all of those diseases? Yeah, me either. Who cares? Here's why I'm showing you this. Because, next, this is why we tell patients that their diagnosis doesn't mean a thing. Their condition can go by dozens of different names depending on who diagnosed it and when. What name was in vogue at the time? You've seen things in 35 years of nursing that used to be called XYZ, but now they're called ABC, right? Your diagnosis, I mean, was it even the correct name? Was it even the right diagnosis? So when somebody comes in here and says, I've got stage 4, level 5, butt cancer, I say, I don't care. Your diagnosis, what the doctor told you, may be right, may be wrong, could be a different disease. Your doctor could be like Fareed Fata up in Michigan who killed 550 people and told them that they had cancer and they didn't. You probably just have a group of symptoms that were categorized and named and put together by somebody that's now dead, and now you're carrying around a diagnosis that you don't even need to have. Or you could have 15 different things going on, but they're just going to label it as one disease. I don't care what it's called because it's wrong. Your diagnosis is not the cause. Your diagnosis is the name of the disease based on all the arbitrary list of observable symptoms. Your fibromyalgia isn't real. It's causing things that you feel, but the grouping of the symptoms was made up by some dude. And here's what I know. You poisoned and you're malnourished. So your diagnosis is the effect. It's not the cause. That's why when people go in and they have a headache and the doctor says you've got a migraine, the person should get pissed. But instead, the person gets happy because now they have a different name that the doctor gave it. But it really means the same thing. What do you mean I've got a migraine? I knew I had a headache when I came in here. But they think they've got, revelation from God. And they go home happy like I've got an abdominal migraine. My doctor finally understands what's going on. My doctor figured out what's going on. No, he didn't. He just called it a disease. That's all he did. The reason for so many disease names, because there are so many possible symptoms and combinations of the symptoms. So if a person has all the disease symptoms plus one more, we create a new disease name. The cycle repeats endlessly. Go back to the last thing. Right here. How do you know which one it is? Who cares? It doesn't matter. So, in closing, here we go. When you want to create an epidemic, here's all you got to do. Group all the symptoms in one disease. You can't smell, you can't taste, you're having a problem breathing, you got a little sniffle. Guess what? We call it the COVIDs. We shove a thing up your nose with a bunch of crap on it that you don't know about. We tell you it's a test. It's not really a test because there's no genetics that we're testing. We're just going to ship it to China or 23andMe or Ancestry.com, and we're going to tell you that you're related to the Vikings, but we don't have any of the testing from the Vikings. So how do we know you're related to the Vikings if we didn't test the Vikings? To make the epidemic go away, all you have to do is call the symptoms of different disease, mix them up a little bit. Remember how they made the flu went away for like 4 years?
Yeah.
And then if you didn't have any symptoms, guess what? That's one of the symptoms. Not having any symptoms. You're an asymptomatic carrier. Isn't that great? So that's a famous trick if you want to start an epidemic. For instance, like with polio, when people say, well, hallelujah, the medical community swooped in and saved millions of people's lives with polio. Really, did they? Because that was about 80 years ago. What have they done since then? Even then. And that was fake, because guess what? They gave everybody the polio jab, and then here came lung cancer, here came prostate cancer, here came breast cancer, here came bone cancer, here came blood cancer. Never had them before. SV40, that's what was in the polio shot. But change the definition from an acute illness followed by weakness and paralysis. Change it. Now if you have polio symptoms, we call it Guillain-Barré, which is an acute illness followed by weakness and paralysis. But if you don't have Guillain-Barré in the face, if you've just got acute flaccid paralysis on like one side of the body, it's an illness followed by weakness and paralysis. It's the same thing. We just changed it to a bunch of different names. Polio looked like it went away. They gave the vaccine all the credit, and boom, people think it's polio because all the people, it's not polio because all these people got vaccinated against polio. See how it works? Weird, right? That's how it works. That's how it worked with the last COVID. So in summary, the most important mineral associated with vitamin E is manganese. You're always going to find them together in nature. You're not going to find alpha tocopherol in a little liquid capsule from the health food store. In nature, you will always find those together. So a diet rich in vitamin E is also usually rich in vitamin C. But what do people think vitamin C is for? Colds. It's not for colds, it's for collagen. Where it got its name. You've been lied to. You don't even know the stuff you think you know about nutrition. That's not even true. Vitamin C doesn't really have anything to do with your immune system. It has to do with your collagen, your skin, your hair, and your nails, your ligaments, your bones, and your tendons. So if something is true in the care and feeding of plants, it is rightly true with animals and humans. If the plants can be screwed by missing one mineral, is it possible that humans and animals could do the same thing? It's not genetic, it's a deficiency of nutrition, or it's a toxic poisoning, like with valproate or thalidomide. So holistic doctors have to understand this, but most are too busy doing genetic tests and pushing peptides, right? An example, Dupuytren's contracture is leaf curl in a human hand. Your leaves are curling from a nutritional deficiency. But people just think, it's okay, I'm all right. No big deal, my leaves are curling. Okay, that's fine. So it just shows up with a different nutrient deficiency. But it's plants, it's animals, and it's humans. And it's all, I showed it to you in 3 different creations that everything that you've been told about genetic testing is garbage. All of it. So, last little thing here. This is it. Just gonna blow your mind. Just crank this to 1.5 just so we can get these guys out of here a few minutes early. This is going to blow your mind. This is a 4-minute little video. This is from July of last year. This is a baby receives the world's first personalized gene editing treatment. This is from a year ago. But that's only if you believe what the news says. Gene editing has been going on for a long time. This is the first one they've told you about. Roll it.
So it's having issues planned.
Oh no.
When we have issues, we restart. It might take like 1 minute, and it'll probably play fine.
Well, let's.
You want to do questions, and I'll play this.
Yep.
At the end?
Yeah, we'll come back. So what kind of questions do we have? I know it was a lot. I told you it was going to be a lot. This was a lot, because so many diseases are fake. Now, I'm not saying that people don't have symptoms. I'm not saying that they don't have pain or dysfunction. What I'm saying is they're not really what you're being told. Do people have problems? Yeah, they have a lot of problems.
Are you anticipating a rise in sickle cell because they already know sickle cell's coming, and so they're working on the genetic fix to that?
I have no idea, man. I mean, what I think they're doing, and we'll discuss this in the last, after this video, they're doing genetic modification in humans at scale.
Yes.
And most people, now they're developing it to a point where they can get the stuff into you without having to infuse it through a needle. So they can get stuff into you through food, air, water, chemicals, cosmetics, cleaning supplies, medications, vaccines, the whole 9 yards. They don't have to have an infusion to do it. But it would be nice for them to harvest $2.2 million from you while they're slowly killing you. Like I said at the very beginning, serial killers, medical serial killers, make you do it yourself. You got to show up to your appointments. you got to take the drugs, you got to roll up your sleeve, you got to go to your chemo. Man, if I was a run-of-the-mill garden variety serial killer, I would donate my time. I would buy my own rape kit. I would buy my own, knives. I would get the plastic sheeting for the kill room. I would put the time into preparing to dismember you. I would find a nice, quiet hotel room. I would chop you up in little pieces, and I would flush you down the toilet and put your blood down the drain. And I would do it all on my own time. And I would donate my time for the goodness of humanity. See, real serial killers, the good ones, they do it out of courtesy, out of expectations for the goodness of humanity. The medical serial killers make you pay for it. The good serial killers, they do it for free. But these medical guys, they want to rob you blind while they're killing you. And that's the sickness behind this whole thing. It is so horrible. So I don't know, man. Do I expect a rise in disease? Yeah, all of them. Yep. Yeah.
It's like you go to the hospital, you're not only going to the hospital, you're going into your coffin.
Very good. Say that again, mister. Let's get that on video. A proud mother moment right here.
When you go to the hospital, you're not only going to the hospital, you're going to your coffin too.
Yeah. Correct. Aren't you proud? You're radicalizing your children. Future revolutionaries. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so will disease go up? Yes. Will people get sicker? Yes. Are people going to die? That's what they're planning. I mean, that's what's going on with this whole COVID 2.0 energy lockdown, Iran war thing. It's like they can't decide. Is the thing open? Is it closed? Well, I don't know. We need to long the oil thing so we can make billions. They're just sitting back their money printer and, well, it's closed, it's open, it's closed, it's open. Who cares? Let's just make a bunch of money off the stock market, shorting the oil industry, right? That's what's going on. Yes. Your politicians they're making Nancy Pelosi look like a playground, what she was doing. It's crazy. And people are like, well, maybe we'll vote different next time. Well, that's how you got into this mess in the first place. Like, just keep voting harder. It's not going to change anything. Like, you vote and they keep dropping bombs. They keep taxing you. They keep taking everything you earn, everything you own. And what are they doing now? Captain Vaccine Warp Speed is now telling you that we're building data centers to harvest your stuff so that we can design cancer vaccines for you.
We're not calling him Captain Antichrist yet?
Not yet. No. Trump, he's not the Antichrist. No. I'm leaning towards Elon Musk is the best bet. I like Elon for the Antichrist. I think he's got who I'm really looking for is I think Noah Harari is probably the false prophet. A gay Jew. Yeah, that's where I'm going. He's the false prophet. I don't know. I really like Elon for the Antichrist. I think I'm leaning.
I definitely like him for look, I'm a reptile. I mean,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Oh, he's a reptile. Yeah. Is this ready to go?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Well, let's do it.
The age of gene therapy is fast approaching. Doctors first started trying to heal genetic disorders back in 1990. 3.5 decades later, they can now chalk up success stories, like K.J. Muldoon, a baby boy born with a rare, life-threatening metabolic disorder caused by a faulty gene. Cutting-edge therapy targeting the defect appears to have dramatically helped the little patient, and doctors are hopeful the results will last. Hundreds of millions of people around the world suffer from genetic disorders that might soon be fixable. Here's how it works.
The DNA in the human genome is made up of billions of what are called nucleotides. Your body uses specific sequences of them, called genes, to build the many different proteins crucial to life. If a gene is faulty, it presents the wrong instructions, and the protein made from it can be defective, and that can cause a genetic disorder. To heal such diseases, you therefore have to replace or repair faulty genes.
Rare genetic diseases collectively affect millions of patients worldwide. So these are they don't always have the same disease, but they all have like a genetic source of these diseases that can potentially be treated with gene therapy or gene editing.
Altering a patient's DNA is no simple task. To treat genetic disorders, tailored viruses are often used. They're able to smuggle a correct version of the faulty gene into cells. Once inside the cells, molecular editing tools insert this correct code, replacing the patient's faulty DNA.
You can think of gene editing or gene therapy treatments like a microsurgery for your DNA. So even small changes in DNA can lead to huge effects. I think you can think about it analogous to language. So if you think about a sentence and you change like a single letter in that sentence, it can substantially change the meaning. And the same is true, for protein and DNA sequences.
For many gene therapy treatments, a patient's cells are removed and their DNA is edited outside the body, or ex vivo. The repaired cells are then returned to it. However, the gene editing components can also be injected directly into the patient, a process called in vivo gene therapy. Both have their own advantages.
The advantage of in vivo gene therapy can potentially be its simplicity. So the application can be logistically much simpler than with ex vivo therapies, where first cell clone patients have to be removed, then ex vivo manufactured, and then reinfused into the patient.
A groundbreaking in vivo gene therapy treatment helped infant KJ Muldoon, who has a rare condition that would have soon led to brain damage or even death. Researchers have also used the method to try to treat hundreds of other patients for previously untreatable disorders, from sickle cell to Parkinson's to certain kinds of cancer. The gene therapy revolution in medicine has begun.
Let's get more on this from Julian Grunewald, who's an assistant professor of gene editing at the Technical University of Munich. Welcome to
I wanted you to laugh at the stuff he was saying, because now you know it's garbage what he's saying, but it's stupid. Okay, so final. Added bonus, just like the public service announcement at the very beginning, I want to make sure you all know what you're getting yourselves into. 3 things that we're confronting in 2026. First, we've got the fallen angels, then we've got their offspring with human women, aka the Nephilim, and then we've got their departed spirits, which become the demons. If you were supernatural beings with supernatural powers to be invisible, operating with human accomplices and unlimited resources, could you deceive the world by working in league with its political leaders? That's where we're at. So, moving on, those are the 3 things you need to watch out for. Moving on, these are the hybrids that you need to be looking for now. Okay? You've got augmented humans, clones, and mixed species. I'll explain. You've got your super soldiers, genetically enhanced humans, night vision, sonar, accelerated healing, whatever. Think Marvel superheroes, okay? Augmented humans. Then you've got clones, genetic replicas of person with no spirit. That's like the, the different Bidens during 4 years. You've got the NBA player Biden that was 7 foot tall. You've got the other guy with a backwards face. You've got the other one with the big earlobes. They're all clones. They were all clones. There were like 6 different Bidens. The mixed species, then you've got, this is what we're dealing with. This is what you got to watch out for. The part human, part animal chimeras. Remember that they're going to sell it to you with this. They're going to say, remember that you're related to monkeys. That's what they're going to tell you. Nephilim are the direct seed of Satan. Hybrids are the offspring of the Nephilim. All Nephilim, remember, this is the take-home message, kids. Remember, go home, teach your kids, teach your friends and family. All the Nephilim, which are part human and part spirit, all Nephilim are hybrids, but not all hybrids are Nephilim. Remember that. Jonathan, you got that? You got it? You sure? You got it? You got it?
Yeah, this is the best one you've done.
Everybody understand it?
Fantastic.
Well, it was only two and a half hours. See, the longer we go, the better it is. No, this genetic thing is just a complete and total, utter 100% fabrication. And people need to know this. And people are being spliced and diced and murdered and cut up for no reason. So put this in the catalog along with you don't have allergies, you don't have a chemical imbalance, you don't have an autoimmune condition. And now we add this, we slide this into the bookcase of you don't have a genetic disease. And probably I'm going to have to do one coming up. You don't have autism, because now everybody thinks they have autism. Any questions? Comments?
I saw you hit on the med beds.
Med beds are fake.
Okay, that's it. That's what.
She wanted to know about med beds, just like everybody else. Med beds are fake. Med beds are channeled from a psychic medium, from a spirit brother or a demon, into all the patriot groups, and then everybody thinks med beds are real, and they're going to have a med bed, fix their cancer, reset their aging, and everybody looks for the med beds, and they stop taking care of themselves. Med beds are fake. They've always been fake. They don't exist. They want you to think they exist, so you just keep waiting for the cure. But to get into that med bed, what do you think they're going to take from you? What do you think they're going to do? Promising you immortality, fixing your congenital anomaly, right? You'll live forever. Sound familiar? What do you think they're going to have you scan? What do you think they're going to have you do before you get into the med bed?
You will have to change.
Yes. Fundamentally. And you will no longer be made in the image of God, just like this is all this is about. When your genetic code is changed, guess what?
You're not human anymore.
Correct. So the mark of the beast, it's not the mark of a man. It's not the mark of God. It is the mark of the beast.
Yeah, why do they
Because
all
you are
like it?
resembling now, not God, because you're not no longer made in his image, you're made in his image. So that's why the whole vaccine thing and the monoclonal antibodies and the peptides and the IV therapy and all the stuff is coming in the shape of what? A snake bite, a fang. That's why it's coming. So what are people doing? Well, I need my Ozempic. Well, I need my insulin. Well, I need my hormone shots. Well, I need my thyroid stuff. I need my troches. I need my hormone shots. I need this and I need that. What are they doing? They're falling for it. So that in the end, eventually, just like go back to the original point at the beginning, like the third slide or whatever, I want you to see this. You will never know if that disease that you think is genetic or passed down or hereditary or whatever, you will never know if, keep going, right here, keep going. You will never know if it's the product of this other stuff. Keep going. Right there. If you believe what you're told, you're never going to know if your disease is actually the result of vaccines, ROGAM shots, ultrasounds, vitamin Ks, which is not a vitamin and it's not vitamin K, infusions, transfusions, transplants, a medical procedure, an absorbed or ingested chemical poison, radiation, foreign proteins from other living organisms, the hormones, the vaccines, the injectable peptides, or the IVs, or just if it's chronic, simple chronic, malnutrition. Or what if it's 4 or 5 of them? 10%, 10%, 40%, 20%, You'll never know. You'll just think it's genetic and you'll never figure it out. And you will just get your genes modified. And at some point you'll just wake up and you'll be like, wow, I've got all this nanotechnology, self-assembling crap in me. And oh, I've got a little star of Moloch on the back of my right hand. And people will go, well, how did that happen? You didn't slip and trip and fall into the mark of the beast. You made little decisions over time. They're not going to just come and be like, put a gun to your head and reject Jesus, or we'll tear your head off. No, it's going to be little tiny decisions, little over time, over a period of time. And then before you know it, you're just going to wake up one day and be like, I don't feel like reading my Bible anymore. Jesus, who's that? Maybe it's the Mormon Jesus. Maybe it's the Jehovah's Jesus. Maybe it's the Muslim Jesus. Maybe it's the reptilian Jesus. And you're going to be so confused and you're going to be like, wait a minute, Steven Spielberg just came out with this brand new movie. Maybe it's the alien Jesus. They can do some crazy stuff. And it says, in the end times, everybody's going to be deceived. Well, the Catholic Church says the aliens are already here.
They probably run the Catholic Church.
The Pope is probably the head dude, right? So anyway. But yeah, so that's the agenda. The agenda is not to fix your diseases, because they're fixing diseases. Well, they're not fixing anything, but they're trying to tell you that they're fixing diseases that are literally 1 in a million. That tells you it's not true.
Yeah,
it's fake. It's all fake, including the whole genetic theory of disease, which we'll go into farther down the road. I've got this whole other, one's on the chopping block. You do not have autism. Another one on the chopping block is you do not have a virus. Will lay waste to the entire viral theory of disease, which is a theory. What else we got? Anything else? Any other words of wisdom?
You don't have cancer. It's never a thing. They just want to shove pills down your throat just for you to die.
Amen.
I think you need to get him on the television ad.
Yeah. When we do billboards
Billboards.
yeah.
There you go. Quote. You don't have cancer. They just want to shove pills down your throat.
Oh, that's classic. Okay, let's get out of here. 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'd say you earned it. Get out of here. Thank you, guys. We'll see you in a month. Thank you.